3 minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
To infinity and beyond.
He's live. He's nationwide. This is the Zach Gelb Show. Here's your host, Zach Gelb.
La-di-da-di-da, live from the palatial yet not overly ostentatious studios of the Infinity Sports Network here in beautiful New York City, sitting on top of the 10th floor, 345 Hudson Street. Welcome on in to a marvelous Thursday edition of the Zach Gelb Show across all of the great local Infinity Sports Network affiliates, Sirius XM, Channel 158, the free Odyssey app, and of course, streaming live on YouTube. 855-212-4227 is the number to jump on in. 855-212-4227. I don't even care that I messed up my hair before I got on the air. I was just having my hands all over my hair, and now I think my hair is all the way to the right. It looks terrible on the stream, but who gives a rat's ass? Because I got a baseball team in the NLCS, and it's glorious. It's wonderful. It is spectacular. And it is magnificent. I'm still trying to fix my hair here. I don't know if I'm going to have any luck, but who cares? Oh, I am in a splendid mood today. I didn't go to bed last night just because of the pure excitement that I was feeling until 3 in the morning. And then guess what? I couldn't sleep because I'm back in the New York groove. And at 7:15, and I usually don't get up that early, at 7:15 a.m. Eastern time, I didn't even need an alarm. I did wake up, and I was watching the Francisco Lindor Grand Slam over and over and over again. And there are moments in sports that happen with your team. When your team is on the winning side of something that is so spectacular that we have all been there. And for me, the last 2 weeks, rooting for this baseball team, which was my first true love as a kid in the sports world, was baseball. And it was the Mets, and going to Shea Stadium with my mom and my dad and my friends, and just going to all these games. And this has been a franchise, let me be real. This is a Mets team where we all expect the worst. Like in my 30 years of living, I put out a tweet a month ago that this team was the third most fun team of my lifetime. You know how pathetic of a statement that is? And they are slowly moving off of that 3 spot. Quite frankly, even if they don't get to the World Series, this may be more fun than 2015 when they got to the World Series and lost in the World Series. Because what the Mets are doing, and it's the best moment in sports, is when you have unexpected success. When you have unexpected success, there's nothing like it. There's really not. Because this team was dead. This team was over. This team was finished. You know how many times I said the season is over with this team? And whenever it looks like they're not going to get the job done, they find a way to do so. I'm still trying to figure out on the stream which way my hair is messed up, but I think I finally just got it. I think I'm good. I have no clue. But I don't care. All my hair could fall out today. I don't care. Because I know the Mets have a game coming up on Sunday. The Mets have a game coming up on Monday. I will be in the building on Wednesday night. And there's a game on Thursday. And after that, we will see what transpires with the New York Mets. So I was at the game last night in like 2 purposes, 2 roles. I was working. I was getting content after the game. I did talk to Francisco Lindor after the game and the manager of the New York Mets and Carlos Mendoza. And then I was also able to go around the stadium. And the vibe in that building last night was just ridiculous. And the Mets, of course, because they can never make this easy. The first 3 innings was torture because they would basically bring you to the well. And right before you're about to drink, the well has no more water in it. The well actually somehow, it found a way to have some malfunction, and no water is coming up right now. And I knew that eventually the Phillies would strike first. And I knew that the Philadelphia Phillies would get on the board. And they got on the board on such like a lucky, funky kind of infield slapper that the Mets couldn't field cleanly. Because Vientos was debating, do you go to first or do you go to home and try to get the out? And then he dropped the ball, something like he did similarly in this series. And the Mets keep on getting guys up. And they keep on not finding a way. And then that magical 6th inning happened where you have JD get on, other guy hit by pitches, like wild pitches. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, all right, even when Alvarez with the bags full hits a ground ball and they get the force out at the plate, there's 1 out though, bases loaded. Francisco Lindor is coming up. And if it wasn't for Shohei Ohtani, Francisco Lindor would be the most valuable player in the NL. And how can't you have confidence as a Met fan? And this is what this team has done, where outside of 06, no Met team in my lifetime has done this. I now expect to win these games. I now expect them, even when they go down, to bounce back and find a way to win. And with Lindor up, I'm not thinking he hits a grand salami. But I am confident. I wasn't greedy. I'm like, just hit the ball in the outfield. Let's tag up from third and get a run home with 2 outs and then see what Vientos could do bad in second. And when that ball went to right field, the stadium was just moving. You know, if that's how it was going to be the end for all of us in that stadium, we all would have been fine with it. Because it was elation. That building was ready to pop. That building was ready to explode the entire night. You know, someone asked me how loud was the building. And I said, outside of the Lindor home run, I thought the loudest the building was prior to Lindor hitting the grand salami when Tyrone Taylor was up at the plate. He hit a ball down the left field line past the third base bag. It went foul. And the douchey umpire had an emphatic foul call, which I didn't appreciate in the moment. But when that ball we thought was fair for like a half a second, I was in the 300 section. There's 500, there's a field level, 200 section, 300 section, 400, 500 section at Citi Field. So I'm at the 300 section. And I could oversee the third base bag from across from me because I was by the first base bag in the 300 section. And I saw the stadium on the field level like actually go up and down and move. That's how loud, that's how great of a crowd it was. But my baseball team finds a way to get the job done last night. And Stu, when they take out David Peterson, who's been a great weapon in the game, when they take out David Peterson the ninth, they had to put Diaz in with the 3-run lead. But when he walks the first two guys, I'm like, oh no. Oh, no. Oh, no, 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 no. But then a confidence did overtake me. That as long as Diaz got one out, he was going to find a way to get the other two outs. Because I just trust this baseball team. And there's a certain buzz. There's a certain vibe. I don't believe in this team of destiny bullcrap. And this is one of my biggest pet peeves in sports. Whenever someone starts calling a team of destiny, 2 rounds or so prior to winning, that team usually always loses. So save me the nonsense and save me the bullcrap. This is a team of destiny. I want 8 more wins, gosh darn it. All right? Because in 2015, I was the dope that was so naive, and I was younger in life. I was in college. And I was like, we lost the World Series. Weren't expected to be here. Don't worry. We'll be back. And it's been a long decade since. So I'm looking at this team right now. They're just hot. And hey, whoever comes out of the next series, of the series going on right now with the Dodgers and the Padres is going to be tough. You know what, Stu? I don't know if you would agree or disagree with this. The Padres kind of got that vibe about them too. The Mets and the Padres got a little special vibe going on. And with the Dodgers' lack of starting pitching right now, I'm not rooting for anyone, but if you said, who would you rather face? I think I would rather face the Dodgers, as crazy as that sounds from where we viewed them for most of the year, than the Slam Diego Padres right now. That's the way I look at it. Do you see the same thing?
I do. I was saying to Andrew Bogish, who works on mornings here, if the Yankees were to make the World Series, of those 3 National League teams left, I'd most want to play the Dodgers.
Wow. And also, just in my lifetime, the Mets have defeated the Dodgers twice in the postseason, in 2006 and in 2015. So, I don't know, even though that means nothing in 2024, I just have a little bit more confidence going up against the Dodgers. And quite frankly, the Dodgers remind me like the Phillies, except the Phillies have better starting pitching. You got the big names in the lineup, the team that was supposed to be the team all year, and all the pressure would be on the Dodgers, just like how all the pressure was on Philadelphia. So, I'm feeling good, man. I am. The bullpen could scare the crap out of you. The starting pitching, it's like the little engine that could with all these starting pitchers, like Quintana and what he's been able to do, Minaya. Senga now back, but it all starts and ends with Francisco Lindor. And all hail for I'm bowing down right now if you're not watching on YouTube to Francisco Lindor. He's just ridiculous. Like that. In the last 2 weeks, I've had the game against the Braves where they were down 3-0, they're up 6-3, they blow the game, and then Lindor hits the salami, hits the 2-run shot that the Mets end up winning. Then I also had game 3 of the wild card where they were buried and dead. And Pete Alonso, who looked like he was right out of town from the Mets after this that series was over. He was going to be right out of town, done with. And we were all ready to ship him out and say goodbye in free agency. He hits that home run. Then they win game 1 against the Phillies. They lose game 2, which was a classic. And then they win 3-4 at home. And last night, being down 1-0, and Lindor hitting the salami, just unbelievable. You know, There was a person that I met last night at the game, and he said to me, he's actually a SAG-AFTRA member too. It's just small world. That's our union that we're in. He looked at me. He goes, "You're still in stunned disbelief about what transpired." I go, "Yeah." Like, that moment just overtook my body when Lindor hits the grand slam. And an inning later, Stu, it was like Alonso. I emotionally blacked out. I was completely sober the game. I emotionally blacked out. And that's what sports could do to someone. It was just awesome. Now, I had a listener come up to me at the game in the first inning. He was like, "Hey, are you Zach Gelb?" I'm like, "Yes, that is me." Like, how many 6'4" talk show hosts are there that aren't known for actually playing sports? So I was talking to this guy, very nice guy. He's listened to me since 2017 when I was doing Eagles postgame. So how about that? And he said he was a Yankee fan. I can't stand what your Yankee fans are doing to me, Stu.
Uh-oh.
Now, very nice guy. But the Yankee fan I'm not saying they're rooting for the Mets fan, but I think they fear that the Mets win a World Series before this Yankee core does now. And since the Mets are actually enjoyable if you don't have a dog in the fight, the Yankee fan, and this is what this guy did to me at the game last night, he goes, "You guys are winning the World Series, no doubt about it in my mind." Can you stop telling me that, please? I don't ask for much. I've been a good boy this year. You know, I deserve to have some success with my baseball team. Do you need to start congratulating me? And people did that with my hockey team, too. "Oh, the Rangers are a team of destiny." Stop. I want a parade. Don't congratulate me until I'm drunk as a skunk at the parade and I have to tell David Mayernick and Ryan Hurley I'm not coming to work. Or if I am coming to work, I'm going to be like fully in the bag, not even half in the bag, fully in the bag. All righty? All right, let's get to the rest of these baseball series because let's be a national show and let's pay attention to everything. But I had to get that out of my system. So the Mets are off to the NLCS. We're lonely right now. We're waiting for people to join us. Dodgers-Padres, Stu. In Game 5. Friday night, tomorrow, who finds a way to get it done?
Even though it's in LA, I think it's the Padres. I think Darvish pitches a good enough game, and I just don't trust the Dodgers pitching enough right now.
So I think the Padres are the better team. Ohtani finally in the postseason. I think it's best for Major League Baseball if he advances to the NLCS. Now, that's not great analysis because I can't really give you a great reason why I think the Dodgers are going to win. But I'm just going to go with the Dodgers. Yankees and Royals. Let me get your perspective, Stu. You're the Yankee fan on this show. Yankees were up 1-0 in this series. They lost Game 2. And then in Game 3, we just saw what just transpired with an unlikely hero, Giancarlo Stanton. Giancarlo. No si puesto parlo, I think is what John Sterling says. I'm pretty close. I'm pretty sure I'm in the right ballpark there. Give me your reaction. Yankees now up 2-1 as they try to close it out tonight with Garrett Cole on the mound.
I think tonight is a must-win game because if they lose, they do go back home for Game 5, but they have to face Cole Reagans, who is a very good pitcher, very underrated left-handed pitcher.
Must win?
Okay,
coming back to the big ballpark in the Bronx, you can't find a way to get the job done?
I don't trust Rodon.
And there's no pressure on the Royals.
Yeah, it just feels like the momentum they would have from winning Game 4 and then coming back. I think the Yankees, it'd be in their best interest to finish it off tonight.
Now, you would think, right, the home team and the Royals would get one at home. But with that being said, I would also counter that by saying, is Garrett Cole going to pitch 2 bad postseason games in one series? Is he going to do that again?
I hope not. I think you're right, but I hope not.
So that's where I'm conflicted by, because I do think Cole pitches well tonight. But on the other side, there's like a little voice in my head saying, are the Royals really going to lose both at home? So I'm going to say the Yankees advance to the ALCS tonight. Dodgers will meet the Mets. Yankees will get to the ALCS. I'll tell you, you know who I'm rooting for? And I love Cleveland. This is nothing against Cleveland. The Tigers finding a way to win Game 2 as they did up against the Great Guardians closer, and then coming back home and getting Game 3 yesterday to take a 2-1 series lead. Even if the Tigers lose today and they got to go back to Cleveland, as it's Tanner Beebe and Reese Olson on the mound, and we'll see what the pitch count is for Reese Olson, you got Scooby-Dooby-Doo, Tarek Skubal, on the verge of becoming a friend to the Zach Gelb Show, making 2 appearances on the show this season. If Scooby-Dooby-Doo, even if you lose tonight, and you want to win at home, obviously, But if you have him on the mound for a Game 5, he's the best pitcher on the planet right now. He's going to be the AL Cy Young Award winner. And if the Cy Young was just given out to, one Cy Young given out for both leagues, it would still be Scooby-Dooby-Doo. So there's a weird confidence. And the Tigers, that kind of remind me about like the Mets a little bit. Now, outside of Scooby, they don't have the star power, as much star power the Mets have. But that Tigers team, we had Scooby on, and there was talks about him getting traded. Because, the Tigers are so far out of it. And how they are now one win away from going to the ALCS. Like, think about this, Stu. You could have an ALCS with the Tigers and the Royals. I don't think that's going to happen. I think the Yankees will get through. But the fact that there is a chance the Royals, the Tigers, and the Mets could all be in the league championship series is wild. So I don't know if the Tigers win today, but I think the Tigers win that series. I'm going Yankees, Tigers, and the AL, and I do think my Metsies will see the Dodgers, even though I think the Padres are a better team right now than the Los Angeles Dodgers. It's been a great postseason. Really has been for Major League Baseball. 855-212-4227. Let me take Anthony in Myrtle Beach here real quickly. Anthony, what's shaking?
What's going on, brother?
I'm in a fantastic mood, Anthony. Say what you got to say.
Yes, you and I, too. I'm out here in Braves country just laughing at everybody.
Oh, say hello to all my friends. Oh, the Braves are so irrelevant. We don't even have to see them in the playoffs.
I know, but I'm surrounded by them, and I just walk around giving them the little axe chops, harassing them.
Gotcha. So what's going on?
You manifested this, and you touched on it a little while ago when you talked about it last week when you were everybody was putting Pete down, he's over with, and then he came through with that home run. Right now, you're the good luck charm, and I need you to believe in this.
I'm the good luck charm. I'm the good luck charm for Pete Alonso.
You talked about it last week when you were talking about he's done, get rid of him. He's a free agent, we're done. That night he hit the home run, kept it going, and won it for us. You manifested it by saying Pete has to come through, show him what he's got, and he did. So right now you're the match that lit that flame.
Well, you know what, Anthony? The Mets are done. The Mets stink. The Mets won't win another game. If that's what it takes, I'll channel my inner hot take Hickey and try to pull what he usually does.
A little reverse?
Yeah, a little reverse jinx. Well, you can't acknowledge a reverse jinx, so I didn't just acknowledge what we just talked about, all right?
Go Mets.
Yes, Anthony. Appreciate it, Myrtle Beach. Appreciate it. Oh, boy. I was going to say, you're giving me credit for Pete Alonso. I was a loyal Pete supporter, and then in that third game of the wild card round against the Brew Crew, I was like, done, get him out, I've seen enough. And then, boom, hits that home run. Oh, this is special. This is special. I just want more baseball. I'm actually going to Game 3 of the NLCS. Tickets went on sale yesterday. And Wednesday evening, I called to my brother-in-law. I said, we're going to the game. And then my best friend bought tickets too. Stu, how about this? Best friend bought tickets. I go, what section you're in? We're in like the 500 section. Just bought whatever the cheapest tickets were. And he goes, oh, I'm in, I think it was 523. He's like, I'm in 523 as well. I go, oh, cool. We're in the same section. We'll tailgate before. I go, what row are you in? He goes, row 11. I go, oh, I'm in row 11. What seats? I'm in 2 and 3. He's 17, 18, 19 with his dad and his brother. So pretty cool. Small world the way that stuff happens. All righty, we'll take a timeout. Talking a lot of Major League Baseball playoffs today. Also, when we come on back, let's turn our attention to the NFL. Is Aaron Rodgers washed up? Is he done? Is he finished? We'll get to that next. Sports fans. Yes, that's me. Yes, that's Samter. Yes, that's Stu. Listen up. 1 in 8 men will be diagnosed with prostate cancer, and bladder leaks can be a side effect. That's why Depend is teaming up with the Prostate Cancer Foundation to encourage screening, because health is a long game, and it's yours to win. Now, here's the cool part. Through November, Depend is contributing up to $300,000 to prostate cancer research by donating 40 cents for every purchase of shields, guards, and Real Fit products. Boyd in Mississippi. Learn more at Depend.com.
You're in a 4.5-minute break. Four minutes remaining. 3 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back to the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network.
That's right. It is the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. Stu, I'm not a cat guy. I'm a dog guy. I know that you are a cat guy, right? You
Very
have two
much
cats?
So. Two, yes.
Okay. How old are your cats?
One is like 8 and the other one is like 2 or 3.
Did
Very
you
young.
take in those cats from the outside? You like how'd that whole process work? I'm always amused by that.
Yes, the youngest one, me and my girlfriend found in the backyard of our old apartment.
So how do you know how old the cat is?
The cat was very, very young, so they knew it was like between 4 months and 7 months.
So how old are the cats again?
Like 8 and 3.
Okay, 8 and 3.
Yeah.
How's cleaning the litter box? Just wondering. How often do you have to clean the litter box?
So we have this thing called a litter robot, which cleans itself,
fancy.
and then you just get rid of the waste, if you will.
Yeah,
it goes into like a little like plastic bag, and then you just kind of tie it up and throw it out.
Bad smell?
Not a great smell.
Are you usually the one, not your girlfriend, that has to do
I'd
that
say
process?
it's probably me. Probably 3 out of 4 times it's me.
Okay, gotcha. That seems right. Seems about right. How long do cats usually live for? Is this like there's a reason?
There are some cats that have been known to live into their 20s.
20s?
Yeah, 20s.
So the reason I asked this, the legendary Cardinal and Mets first baseman, Keith Hernandez.
Yes, Haji.
Everyone knows the cat.
Yes.
So he just got his cat a birthday cake, which I always think is a little weird when we get animals like birthday cakes. Now, I know dogs can't eat chocolate. This is a chocolate-covered cake. Can cats eat chocolate?
I don't think so.
Okay. Well, maybe it's just to get a cake and they don't actually serve it up to the cat. But his cat is 22 years old. Happy 22nd birthday to Haji. I didn't even know cats live that long. Like my dog, Brady, who was a West Highland Terrier. My parents had me name the dog when I was a youngster, and it was a female dog. They're like, oh, what do you want to name the dog? And I'm like, oh, Brady, after Tom Brady. So that's what we ended up going with. So everyone would think that Brady is a guy, but Brady was a girl. She ended up living for like 17 or 18 years, which for a dog is an incredible run. But when I saw 22nd birthday for the cat, I was very like dogs are what, usually 10 to 12 years, it feels like. Like if you get 13, 14 years out of a dog, it's pretty good. Like cats, is that a same range? And then there's just some cats that are just anomalies that end up living at 22?
So obviously it just depends, but I think cats do live a little longer. So you're kind of expecting teens, I think, if you get a cat.
Do your cats, do they both live in the house, or are they like in and out of the house?
They are inside, cats both.
Because my Uncle Freddie, he has like 4 or 5 cats, and he's like a Grateful Dead kind of guy. That's the image of Uncle Freddie. You know, his cologne's always on, and it smells like a certain something, if you know what I'm saying. But anyway, his cats, he has like 3 cats that are house cats, and then I think like 2 other cats that they come and go. So, you know, that's always another thing with cats. So you're only house cats, right?
Yes.
Yeah. My friend Jordan and his girlfriend, or now fiance, Liv, they have a house cat named Zeke. And Zeke, he's like the only cat that actually I've ever thought of resembled a dog. I'm not like if you like cats, that's fine. I just never got the concept. I've always been afraid of cats, if I'm being honest. My mom's allergic to cats, too.
I was very afraid of cats when I was little.
And then you had the girlfriend, and the girlfriend loves
I was
cats.
just fine.
So.
Yeah, it was more of like a when I was younger type of thing.
Yeah, it's usually how it works. So anyway, I was not expecting this cat, Keith Hernandez cat. Did you know that, Ak? How old do you think Keith Hernandez's cat is?
It's like 17, right?
22.
22.
Birthday
right.
today. You didn't wish Haji a happy birthday? What's wrong
Sorry,
with you?
I'm slipping.
Yeah. Ak, you're the birthday guy around here.
Yeah.
How did you not have Haji's birthday?
I don't know. I'm not sure.
All righty, let me just play a few cuts here from Aaron Rodgers on the Pat McAfee show yesterday. Aaron Rodgers fires back at the rumors that he got his former coach Robert Saleh fired.
As far as any of the ridiculous allegations out there, I'm not going to spend more than one sentence in response to it, and that is that I resent any of those accusations because they're patently false. And it's interesting the amount of power that people think that I have, which I don't.
It sounded like more than a sentence. I thought there was like at least 2 sentences in there. So that's lie number 1. Like, could this initially have been Woody Johnson's decision? Yes. But if Aaron Rodgers vehemently opposed this decision or didn't want this decision to happen, he's the only guy in the organization that could tell Woody no, and then Woody would have to listen to. So, I don't know. Like, Aaron gets so many things that he wants. This idea that Aaron Rodgers had no say in this, especially when you had the Cadence comments a week ago, the whole comments going back when he made the trip to Egypt, how it's an unexcused absence, whatever that icy situation was on the sideline that they downplayed up against the Patriots. There's enough smoke there. Where there's smoke, there's a fire, and now Robert Saleh's fired. So it's a very, very tough sell to me, Aaron Rodgers, that now all of a sudden, oh, these ridiculous allegations, blah, 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 blah. You had the power, and you have a lot of power to make sure that Robert Saleh kept his job. And don't get me wrong, Robert Saleh, from a record standpoint, doesn't deserve to be the head coach of the Jets. But I thought he was going to get another week against Buffalo to prove that he could still be the coach of this team. No one thought it was coming before that Buffalo game. Maybe after the Buffalo game, but definitely not before. Here is Aaron Rodgers of the Pat McAfee Show. Since you had no power in this, since you had no say, as you do claim, are you upset? Because remember, he was very annoyed when the Packers caught him off guard when they drafted Jordan Love. Are you upset, Aaron Rodgers, that Woody Johnson didn't consult with you as you claim first, even though you guys had a conversation the night before the coach got fired? But, who cares about facts, right, Aaron Rodgers? But are you annoyed that Woody Johnson didn't consult with you before firing the head football coach?
Woody has no obligation to let me know of what his plans are. Whether or not he knew what he was doing in that moment is inconsequential. I just appreciated the call that he was checking on me. It was just like a friend call, like he would do. Hey, man, I saw that hit in the game. You doing okay? And we had a nice, short 5-minute conversation, and then that was that.
Stu, let's just say we were firing Ack, which we don't have the power to do.
Oh, that's not nice.
So I'm using you as an example. Let's say if we were firing Ack, and let's say I had the power to fire Ack. Sorry to do that to you, Ack. But if I had a conversation the night before I was firing Ack, let's just say, it's a weird sentence to say on the radio. I feel very uncomfortable saying that. And I just called you out of the blue and was like, hey, Stu, how you doing? How you feeling? Good? And then the next day I fired Ack or got Ack fired. You would feel some type of way that I had a conversation. I knew I was going to get rid of Ack and never gave you a little heads up with you working as close as you do with Ack on a daily basis for so many years.
Definitely. Yes.
Yeah, that's why it's not believable.
Don't buy it. Yeah.
There's no way Woody Johnson is calling Aaron Rodgers the night before and then firing the head football coach the next day, or bare minimum asking pointed questions to Aaron Rodgers about the coach, where depending on the answers of Aaron Rodgers, that's going to determine the fate of Robert Saleh. Very unbelievable. Here is Aaron Rodgers' last one. What's next for the offense of the Pat McAfee Show?
The most important thing is that there has to be some change, even just the smallest change to we need as players to take accountability for what's happened. I think that's the thing that hits you too in the moment is, if I'd played better on Sunday, this doesn't happen. And as somebody who takes a lot of pride in their performance, that was the main sentiment for me yesterday.
So I got asked this question yesterday when I was doing my weekly hit on Hochman and Crowder, as I was doing it from Penn Station, which doing a phone call interview in Penn Station and having to navigate the homeless people and just people trying to get money from you and who knows what else happens in Penn Station was quite the adventure yesterday before I got on the train to go to Citi Field to watch my Mets advance to the NLCS, which we're very happy about. I was on with Hochman and Crowder, and they asked me, show out of Miami, about Aaron Rodgers. Like, do you think he's washed? And I'm like, I don't think he's washed. I just don't think he's great anymore. And I think he's a 40-year-old quarterback coming off an Achilles injury. When your offensive line sucks and there's not a lot of chemistry there because you haven't been, even though you've been there for a year, you've not been able to play with these guys before, that's what I think you're seeing right now. It's like you could get rid of Robert Saleh, and maybe you get a quick emotional boost from Ulbrich being the coach. You could demote Nathaniel Hackett because he's not calling the plays anymore. It's Downing. You could make that demotion, and maybe you could get a little high off of it for a week or two and get some wins off of it for a week or two. But ultimately, the fundamental issue and the biggest fundamental issue with the Jets is when you have the 40-year-old quarterback who's basically playing on one leg right now, you can't let him get the snot beat out of him each and every week. And until the Jets, with this revamped, improved offensive line, until they start blocking better, then we'll continue to see the same old Jets. And that's the biggest problem. I don't think Aaron Rodgers has another 2-3 years left in him. I don't. I think next year, I think it's on the table, he could retire after this year, depending on how it goes down. But I don't see Aaron Rodgers playing past the 2025 season. I don't. Not everyone's Tom Brady when you play to your 45 or 46, whatever it was with Brady. Even Drew Brees at the end, even though his teams are winning, in some of those playoff, like the Minnesota playoff game, they lost that game. I'm not talking about the Minneapolis Miracle one. I'm talking about the one with Kirk Cousins where he threw the touchdown pass in the left corner to, who was it? I think it was Kyle Rudolph, if memory serves me right. But in that game, like Taysom Hill was playing better. And you had moments from from Drew Brees, where he was fumbling the ball and throwing interceptions. And Drew was up there in age. The sport is not meant for 40-year-olds to play it and play it at a high level. And the decline happens rather quickly. So I think part of it is Rodgers in decline, but also you could put anyone behind this offensive line. You're not winning a lot of games when the line gives the quarterback literally like a second to think, if that at most. It is the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. To be clear, we're not firing Ack. Or
That's a relief to me.
I'm not aware of the situation, nor do I have the power to do. I'm like Aaron Rodgers. I don't have the power to do that.
Well, when you're the longest tenured guy, you're always on edge.
Yeah,
so you never know when it's coming. And they say it's your friends that do it to you.
Okay, just make sure you don't turn your back to me during this show. I don't want to have to stab you.
Exactly.
Here he is, the Ack Man, Rich Ackerman with the latest update.
Infinity Sports Network Sports Flash.
Well, the 49ers and Seahawks open Week 6 tonight in Seattle as San Francisco looks to get back to the 500 mark on the season and also looking to extend its recent dominance over the Seahawks. The Niners have won the last 5 meetings. Jets interim coach Jeff Ulbrich stripped offensive coordinator Nathaniel Hackett of the play-calling duties. Passing game coordinator Todd Downing takes over that responsibility. One New York baseball team has moved into the championship series. Another tries to do so tonight. The Yankees hold a 2-1 edge over the Royals entering tonight's Game 4. Bobby Witt Jr. had an MVP caliber season, but has been quiet thus far, hitting 182 in the playoffs and is 1 for 13 in this series, but his head is still up.
Just got to go out there and now figure out what we need to do to win 2 games, and I believe in it. Everyone in this clubhouse, everyone does, and so that's all we got to do is just take things one step at a time, learn from today, and move on.
The Royals send Michael Wacha to the mound against Yankees ace Garrett Cole. The first game of today's American League doubleheader features the Guardians and Tigers in Detroit, which holds a 2-1 series lead. It'll be Reese Olson going up against Tanner Bybee, and the WNBA Finals begin tonight in Brooklyn, where the Liberty host the Minnesota Lynx. I'm Rich Ackerman.
This is the Infinity Sports Network. Follow us on X. Our handle is INF Sports Network. That's INF Sports Network on X.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. 2 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back to the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network.
And this portion of the show is sponsored by the new 2025 Hyundai Tucson Hybrid that has class-leading advanced safety features like the available blind spot view monitor to make your ride more enjoyable. Let's get to a little Take 5.
As the dust settles from last week's games, it's time to look at which teams are rising and which are falling.
And there's an interception.
Zach ranks his top 5 NFL and college football teams on this week's edition of Take 5, only on the Zach Gelb Show.
Alrighty, let's do a Take 5 Wednesday on a Thursday since I was out yesterday. I'm going to start with college. College was very tough. I knew who my first and second teams were going to be, but 3, 4, and 5, I had no clue which way I was going to go. And I think who I put at 5 and 4 will be somewhat controversial. So, Stu, I follow your lead here. Should I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or 5, 4, 3, 2, 1?
Go 1 to 5.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
And if you would have told me to go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, I may have been like, all right, I'm Aaron Rodgers. I don't have the power to make a decision. But then I'm going to make the decision to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and then tell everyone, oh, Stu told me that it was his decision, not my decision, even though everyone just heard how the way that played out. Anywho, in at number 1, welcome back to the top spot, Texas. Texas has survived, obviously, without Quinn Ewers. Arch Manning has played well. I know they haven't played the greatest competition, UTSA, Louisiana Monroe, and then Mississippi State. But they are still undefeated. They had a very good win up against Michigan. And now you have Red River coming up on Saturday. And we'll preview the big weekend in college football coming up in about an hour from now, about 50 minutes actually from now, with Josh Perry, who's an NBC Sports Big Ten analyst, does a great job, and is also a former Ohio State linebacker, and won a national championship. So, when I look at that Red River game, all the pressure's on Texas. Oklahoma has a quarterback change. They're getting, obviously, Texas getting Quinn Ewers back. The leading wide receiver for Oklahoma is going to be out, so I'll be curious this week to see if that's a blowout Texas game or if it's just close because it's Red River and high scoring. So Texas into number 1. Number 2, this team hasn't played a great opponent yet, but what they're able to do with Jeremiah Smith and what this freshman is able to do, it's just ridiculous. I know we all talk about Ryan Williams. Jeremiah Smith, though, 23 receptions on the young season, 453 yards, and 6 touchdowns. He's just been absolutely sick. Now, with that being said, their biggest opponent is this weekend, and it's the Ducks of Oregon. So I put Ohio State in at 2. I'll be curious with Ohio State going to Eugene. Can they find a way? Because I do think they're better than the Ducks, but the Ducks are playing better. Can they find a way to get the job done with a little adversity maybe getting suffered for the first time this year? In at number 3, team I just mentioned, the Oregon Ducks. They didn't play great in the first 2 games of the season against Idaho and Boise State, but since then they're starting to look like the way that we envisioned the Ducks, but clearly their best opponent this year is Ohio State and what they have actually in the remaining schedule. So now we'll get to really see, is this team what Dan Lanning has been the last 2 years? You win a lot of games, and the big games you don't win, or do you go get that signature victory? So I thought that was pretty easy peasy stuff. Texas 1, Ohio State 2. I did put Oregon 3. Now here's where we get tricky. Could I go Penn State? Could I go Clemson? Could I go Miami? Could I go with those teams? I'm actually keeping Alabama in at 4. And I think people say, but Zach, Alabama just lost to Vanderbilt. Yeah, but they beat Georgia. And also, there's a lot of mediocrity this year in college football. I think if Alabama played any of the teams that I'm keeping out of the top 5, Alabama would beat those teams. So I'm keeping Alabama in 4 because of how great that win was 2 weeks ago. And yes, it was a terrible loss against Vanderbilt, but I'm keeping them in at 4. And number 5, I'm keeping Georgia. I'm keeping Georgia in there at 5. I know they did not play well up against Kentucky. They lost to Alabama. They had a great second half. And they had, obviously, you knew they were going to win after losing to Alabama, where they blew out Auburn 31-13. But Georgia's in at 5. I think those are the 5 best teams right now in college football. Texas 1, Ohio State 2, Oregon 3, Alabama 4, Georgia 5. Wasn't easy to put together this top 5 list, but that's what I'm with. All right, Stu, what do you got?
All right, what about the undefeated Miami Hurricanes despite 2 really close calls recently?
Now, they came back down 25 against Cal. Give them credit. The referees and the replay system helped them out against Virginia Tech. It's just the lack of quality opponents. And for me, if Miami played Alabama, Miami played Georgia, as good as Cam Ward is, I think Alabama and Georgia would beat Miami. So they continue to win games. They continue to be undefeated. They'll go into the top 5. But right now, when you got some teams undefeated and 1 loss, I think the 1-loss teams are just better.
You left out the team that is ranked 4th in the AP Top 25, and that's Penn State.
I'm just skeptical about them because I was so impressed with them against West Virginia. But since then, regardless of how the scores look, there's been a lot of sloppy games. They go beat USC pretty damn good this week, then that could elevate them into the top 5. But right now, they're just on the outside looking in, trending to being in the top 5 soon.
All right, what about a team that's 4-1 but got blown out in really the only tough game they played in Clemson?
That's the thing. Clemson got blown out by Georgia. How can I keep Georgia out of the top 5 and put Clemson in, and then Bama beat Georgia, right? So to me, that's why Clemson is out. All righty, let's go to the NFL quickly. In at number 5, I put the Baltimore Ravens, especially what they've been able to do the last 2 weeks, smothering Buffalo, and then following up with a good come-from-behind victory up against Cincinnati Bengals when Joe Burrow was going off. In at number 4, Texans looked like they were going to blow out Buffalo in that game, got late, and they found a way, mainly because of the incompetence of Sean McDermott, but they still found a way to get the job done. So Texans in at 4. Lions are on a bye week. They stay in at number 3. In at number 2, the undefeated Minnesota Vikings. Who would have thought we'd be saying that? Doesn't matter where they play. They go to London, they win a game and get a coach fired. And it's not one of their coaches. It's an opposing coach in Robert Saleh. And then in at number 1, the standard is the standard. The Kansas City, how about those Chiefs finding a way to play? It wasn't even a complete game, but probably their most complete game of the season up against the Saints. And it's ridiculous how the Chiefs still feel like they're sleepwalking and the defense is better than the offense. And then Kareem Hunt looks like he's been there forever and he hasn't played there in like 6 years or something like that. And Juju Smith-Schuster even went off. So Chiefs in at 1. Ravens 5, Texans 4, Lions 3, Vikings 2, Chiefs 1. Stuart, speak now or forever. Hold your peace.
What about the NFC East leaders through 5 weeks and the Washington Commanders?
Toughest team that I did not put in the top 5. I really wanted to. But I said Ravens, Commanders, right? You give the slight edge to the Ravens. Ravens play the Commanders this weekend. Jaden Daniels going up against Lamar Jackson. They're telling me, you know what they told me? Harbaugh reached out to me. Dan Quinn reached out to me. They said, we're playing for a spot in Take 5 Wednesday on the Zach Gelb Show, even though it's a Thursday today. So next week on a Wednesday when we're here, whoever wins that game will be in the top 5. I can promise you that.
What about another NFC East team in the Dallas Cowboys?
Good win up against the Steelers. And I'm not trying to take anything away from the Cowboys. I think it says more about what the Steelers are and how they're fraudulent. So to me, the Cowboys are like hovering as a 500 team. I know unless if you tie, you're not going to be a 500 team with the extra game getting added. They're not good enough to be a top 5 team in the NFL right now, especially when your wins are blowing out the Browns who stink, the Giants who stink, and the Steelers who are overrated. But they do play the Lions this weekend, so we'll see some progress potentially from the Cowboys.
All right, what about a team coming off of 2 back-to-back wins in division, and that's the Atlanta Falcons?
Thought about it, and their win up against Philly was impressive. Played Kansas City close. Saints game was too close. Tampa Bay was too close. Their games have, and they lost to Pittsburgh too. So if I'm not putting Pittsburgh in the top 5, it's tough for me to put the Falcons in the top 5. I just think the Falcons are a team. Well, they'll probably win the division. They're an above-average team, a solid team. But these games are very, very close. They got to look more dominant if they want to get into the top 5. All righty, so college football, Take 5 this week. Texas 1, Ohio State 2, Oregon 3, Alabama 4, Georgia 5. NFL, Chiefs 1, Vikings 2, Lions 3, Texans 4, Ravens 5. 2 interviews coming up in the next hour. Mo Vaughn will join us next, and then coming up in about 45 minutes, Josh Perry, NBC Sports Big Ten analyst.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. 2 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Infinity and beyond.
He's live. He's nationwide. This is the Zach Gelb Show.
Wild night of baseball last evening. We'll see if we will know who will be going to the ALCS after the two games, as you could have the Yankees advancing later today and the Detroit Tigers. You know my Mets are already off to the NLCS, and they will get the winner of a Game 5 tomorrow between the Los Angeles Dodgers and the San Diego Padres. Let's connect right now with the 1995 MVP, and that is Mo Vaughn, who is a special assistant to ownership of Perfect Game, the world's largest amateur baseball platform. Learn more at www.perfectgame.org. The Vaughn Sports Academy is also in Boca Raton, Florida, and obviously Mo Vaughn works hand in hand with Perfect Game. Mo, always great to have you on the show. Appreciate the time. How you been?
I've been good. I know you're feeling good. Guys played great. Great to see him win.
Yeah, how about Lindor? If it wasn't for Ohtani, he would be the MVP of the NL. It's still wild that he wasn't an all-star this year, but what he did towards the end of the season to get them in the postseason, just carrying that team, fighting through the back injury, hits the home run against the Braves, and then come playoff time with the chance to advance down 1-0 in the game, hits that grand slam and just sent Citi Field into a frenzy. So give me a little perspective on what you're seeing right now out of Francisco Lindor.
Just leading, coming up with the big plays. Listen, he could still be the MVP, and I understand, why this or that, but he plays that premium spot. He's in all the defensive plays. I think putting him in that leadoff spot, which is very, very sharp by the manager, has really elevated his game. But he just looks like he's ready to. He's just waiting for the time where he can strike and he's maximizing his efforts right now. It's great to see him play that well.
And you know what the craziest part is? Like, I'm at the game last night. He hits the grand slam. Like, I'm running all over the stadium. I'm losing my mind. You'll sometimes see players, right, let out emotion. Like, when Pete, what he's going through with this contract, hit that home run in Milwaukee, you saw him let out the scream because it was like, okay, the pressure's finally off of him. Lindor is as cool could be. He's trotting around the bases last night like it was the 36th game of the regular season, and he kind of gives off that tone. He knows what this team could do. He knows what the vibe is, and he's treating each and every game like it's every other game, and he knows in the back of his mind, yes, as great of a moment that is, job's not done yet.
Well, I didn't even really realize, I heard that it takes him about 45 minutes to an hour to get ready for the game because he's having these back spasms.
Yeah.
So he's really focused in really hard probably on exactly what he's got to do each night now to be successful. He's not getting too high or getting too low. He understands where he is and what he's trying to do. And even after the game last night, he said, I want to win a World Series. And I think he's very much not getting excited. But I don't know how you don't jump for joy with that grand slam. I probably, I wouldn't have been doing backflips, but I really would have shown some emotion there. But I just think they, going through a lot. And when, you struggle a little bit early, he's got 4 or 5 years to reflect on, his time in New York. And to come through at this point in time is a culmination of all those experiences. And he's just really focused. It's great to see him.
Mo Vaughn here with us. So when you're in a zone like that as a hitter, just what is it like? What are you feeling like? Because he has a quiet confidence. Some people have a louder confidence, but there's still that confidence there that even as a fan, when he gets up in a big spot, and usually I'm a Met fan, so I'm usually more negative, but when he gets up in a spot like that, Mo, I know he's coming through. So take me through what that zone is like when you're just on fire.
Well, what's happening is he's in perfect hitting mechanical position. So the ball looks like a beach ball to him, and everything is slowed down. So he doesn't get excited. He doesn't do anything extra. All he's probably thinking about is getting myself set. When I see the ball in the zone that I want to attack, just throwing that barrelhead, throwing my hands to that ball, and the barrelhead's going to follow. But everything is probably just slowed down like a big video screen for him. It's one of those things. I hope he can just continue to maintain that. And they got to pitch to him because he's at the top of the lineup. And if they don't pitch to him, then you got these other guys coming behind him who are also Brandon Nimmo. I love this guy Brandon Nimmo. I don't know why. I just love the way he plays. And then Pete. But you got guys up and down the Mets lineup that Iglesias putting in tough at bats consistently. There's really no holes, and that wears on people. It wears over and over and over again that somebody potentially is going to make hard contact, and the Mets are going to be a very, very tough out, I think.
Yeah, and you look at it on paper, the Phillies are a better team, but just the chemistry that the Mets have right now. And I know you weren't on the 04 Red Sox, but it reminds me a lot like the 04 Red Sox, where they were like, oh, we're the idiots, and we're different and stuff like that. The Mets have rallied this year over Grimace throwing out the first pitch, this Iglesias, oh my God song. As a player, when you just have a certain team where it's fun to go to the ballpark, it makes it easier for everybody else.
Listen, I was part of that team that we thought was going to be a great team in Shea Stadium, and look what happened. It really wasn't about the numbers. It was about the people. And they have great people playing there, and the manager is really understanding how he wants to use his players. He knows who can be successful at what. And the guys just seem like they are completely together in what they're doing. So there's a lot of different heroes. I was listening to Fox. Derek Jeter was saying there's just so many heroes up and down the lineup of guys doing things. And that's how you win a championship. But they're going to be a force to be reckoned with, because once you get that, New York crowd behind you, that's a, 10th man, 11th man, whatever you want to call it. When you got to come in the Citi Field, it's going to be tough, and you're going to play with that New York intensity, when you go on the road also.
Who do you think wins on the other side of the NL? We know the Mets are through. You got Dodgers and Padres coming up tomorrow evening. Who do you like in that one, Mo?
Listen, I think that the Padres should have won that game. Once you get that opportunity, it was like the Mets. They knew, going home, let's not go back to Philly and face Wheeler. I don't know who's pitching for the Dodgers, in this next game, but they're going back home. And I think, when you do that, you just never know what's going to happen. But the Padres have that gangster-like attitude like the Mets have. They don't care. They don't ask no quarter, give no quarter. We're coming to play. So hopefully they'll pull it out. I'm pulling for the Padres.
Yeah, and they've really been a story as well. There's some great stories going on in this postseason, which makes it so fun to watch as a fan. And you look at the Tigers, they could close this one out. Heck, if it wasn't for the Mets' improbable run, what the Tigers are doing. I talked to Tarek Skubal before the trade deadline. People thought he was going to get traded because this team had no future, and you got to get a bunch back for the young phenom and all that stuff. And now here they are, one win away up against the Guardians from going to the ALCS. That's some script I can't even believe still.
And they got that guy, Skubal, who's going to make a difference. If they get to a situation where they get to that next round, you're going to have to face him twice. And he looks unbeatable, that guy. He looks like, he's kind of awkward in terms of, his angle. He's pounding the strike zone. They even got him, if they don't win tonight in Detroit, they're going to have him for the final game.
What does that do, just wondering, for a player? Because obviously you're home today. You want to win, like you're talking about. But knowing you got the ace in the hole for Game 5, if you need to, even if you have to go back to Cleveland, does that make that team breathe a little bit easier today?
I think it makes them breathe easier, but also, again, you're going back to the Indians who won that division's home ballpark, and you never know what can happen with the fans and all those different things can take place. So you just have to be careful. If it's there to win today, win it if you can. Win it, give yourself some time off and do it. But also, Detroit's got that guy in the bag, so they're gonna be tough to beat.
When you look at the Yankees, they got to take care of business. We know they won the first game, they lost the second game. They bounced back last night because of Giancarlo Stanton. They're going up against the Royals. They'll get the winner of the Guardians and also the Tigers. If it's not this year, I don't know when it's going to be for the Yankees, but I'll be fascinated to see tonight, how they respond to pressure, because Cole wasn't good early on in this series. Now he gets a little redemption after they won Game 1, but he didn't pitch well. And that Yankee team, anything short of getting to the World Series this year with what the field is right now, that would be a mega, mega blow to that organization.
Listen, I played in the 90s against the great Yankee teams in Boston. Those teams, I'm not sure will ever be assembled again. It's very, very tough to draft that core like that. And they were able to put the O'Neills and the different guys around them. People got to stop thinking that it's the Yankees of old. It's a different era, different way, different thinking. But you also have Soto and Judge and some of these guys that are big names that can really do some things. It's a shame that you're only judged by history with the Yankees on how well you do in the World Series, just because of all the history. It's a gift. It's a gift and a curse. But you got to go out there and play. And you got to go out there and make things happen. And hopefully they'll have an opportunity to keep flowing forward. But I'm not so sure they're built like some of those other great World Series teams in those years. They're going to have to fight it out, have good at-bats, and just keep pressing to try to get to that spot.
Judge gets paid what he gets paid to show up in these moments. What he's been doing this year in the regular season is ridiculous. But you being a big power hitter, right? The horse in the lineup, the guy that everyone's looking to, how difficult is that come postseason time when man, everyone's looking at you and you got to step up and deliver?
It's different. It's, guys like Judge and guys like Soto and guys like, in the past, in those positions, even Barry Bonds and all these other guys, these greats, we were trying to do something to the ball. So we're trying to go out there and force the action. And that's the thing that you got to kind of reverse it. I remember my first playoffs in 1995. 0 for 14, 7 or 8 strikeouts, nothing. And then I had to really revamp. So when I came back in 98, I was a better player. You have to understand what they're trying to do, how they're trying to do, and try to stay within yourself. Hopefully, Aaron will be able to do that. And he just needs to hit one good ball hard. And he hit the ball hard, first at bat, last game, right to win. Then he hit it up. So he needs a little bit of, they always tell you it's better be lucky than good. So for him, he just needs to sting one hard and get some positive feedback, and hopefully he'll take off.
By the way, you bring up 98. I know you guys lost that series, but in that game up against the Indians at the time, you had 7 RBIs in game 1. You've won an MVP. You've had other moments as well. Such a powerful hitter at the plate. I'm curious, Mo Vaughn, what is your favorite career moment if you had to pick one?
I think, it's kind of funny. We were last place 94 when the strike happened. And then the MVP, my MVP year, we went from last to first. That was talking about with that team chemistry, with a certain amount of players. I remember that vividly. It's always when you win is what you remember. Getting to the playoffs, whether you is that grind of just getting yourself to the playoffs, 162 games is always good. Is always good thinking, always good memories. If you're fortunate enough to be in a situation where you can win a World Series, it takes a lot. You're very happy with that. But I think for me, whenever you get yourself to the playoffs in a 95, 98, just a lot of things, in those 2 years that I really remember vividly.
All right, before we let you run, the floor is yours, my friend Mo Vaughn. Tell me what's cooking with the Vaughn Sports Academy in Boca, and also everything going on with the latest with Perfect Game.
Oh, Perfect Game, let me tell you something. It's just the number one youth organization in the world. We probably service over 500,000 kids, giving them the opportunity to put them on stage and be in front of the people that they need to be to get a chance to show their talents. Perfect Game is the leader in that. I've had a great relationship with them for the past couple of years, as an investor, as an ownership level. It's just been a tremendous relationship that you continue to build on. I down here at VS Vaughn Sports Academy, which is, all baseball centric. We've partnered with Perfect Game on many, many different levels and many, many different fronts. So for me personally, I'm enjoying myself in the ownership, level with Perfect Game, partnering with them, doing things. I never thought that, at the end of my career that I would be in a situation where I'm coaching, but I'm on the field. I got a 12-year-old, so I'm trying to put him on the path. So it's one of those things that's just great. But the partnership that I've had with VSA and Perfect Game, it's just been tremendous. It's the best organization out there, and we're just trying to give all kids in all ages and trying to find those diamonds in the rough that nobody else can see and bring those kids to light and give them the opportunity.
Manager Mo, that has a nice ring to it. I just thought about that. You want to manage one day?
Listen, I love the game. I understand the game and know the game. Anytime, any opportunities to be on that field at the highest level in baseball, I'm with that.
Also, one last thing, because I know now you live in Boca. I get down to Boca from time to time to visit my grandmother. Give me a place to eat. Where's your favorite spot to eat? What I got to try?
Well, I'm a Capitol Grill guy.
Okay.
I love that. I'm always at that Capitol Grill at the Boca Mall. I'm there for lunch. The municipalities come there. They got the king crab legs my dad likes. So that's, I'm sure there's other better, but that's my most consistent place I'm always going to. Come down and see. When you come down, get my number from Greg and we'll link up.
100% would be great. And actually, when I was a child, your parents actually, when you were with the Mets, had a suite right next to WFAN suite. My dad works for the company. And one day my dad was running the suite. We left a little bit early in the 7th inning. And there were some youngsters in the suite, around 21, 22 years old. And I think they enjoyed themselves a little bit too much. And your pops and mom gave a little call to my dad and was like, I don't know what you left in that suite, but there's a party going on, and you got to find a way to end that party. So the Vaughn family, a bunch of enforcers. Let me just say that.
You ain't lying. Nothing changes, bro.
Well, I appreciate the time. Thanks so much, Mo.
All right, good luck. See you later.
You got it. We'll do. Once again, www.perfectgame.org for more information. Yeah, my dad got a call from the Mets PR person, and Jay Horwitz was like, Bob, some problems going on in that suite. You left a little bit too early. I guess some clients' sons were enjoying themselves a little bit too much on the beer cabinet that they ended up breaking into. How about that? All right, it is the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. We will take a time out. Come on back. Josh Perry going to join us 20 minutes from now. But first, football is back, and what better way to celebrate than winning some cash with Sleeper Picks? Sleeper Picks is a fantasy game, but you can win real money. Just pick more or less than at least 2 player stats. If your picks are right, you win. You can pick up to 8 players to win up to 100 times your money. And Sleeper has a couple of huge offers to kickstart the football season. For new users, Sleeper will match your first deposit with up to $100 credit to your account. If you've already played, Sleeper's got discounted player projections for you every week of the season. So download the Sleeper app now and use promo code SCORE, that's SCORE, and your first deposit will be doubled with the credit up to $100. What are you waiting for? Download Sleeper today and use code SCORE for a credit up to $100 match on your first deposit. That's code SCORE. Must be 18 years in most states and in state where it is legal. Promo code and other restrictions apply. Visit sleeper.com. Please wager responsibly. Gambling problem, call 1-800-426-2537 for help. Paid for by Blitz Studios.
You're in a 4-minute break. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. 45 seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
You're listening to the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network.
All right, it is the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. So Russell Wilson is back participating at practice for the Steelers. Now, I don't think Justin Fields should be benched because I still think that Justin Fields has a higher upside than Russell Wilson, and this offensive line has been a problem for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And you look, hey, they start out the year 3-0. They beat the Falcons in a close game. They beat the Broncos in a low-scoring game. They beat the Chargers in a low-scoring game. Since then, though, they've lost the last 2 games, but they've been close games. They lost by 3 to the Colts, and then they lost by 3 to Dallas. So, Stu, I look at this, and I know what the inevitable question is. When does Russ get back on the field? I still believe that it's the right decision to play Justin Fields. However, with that being said, I do think if the Steelers lose to the Raiders this weekend, regardless as to how it looks, even if they lose the game 34 to 31 and Justin Fields plays incredible in the game, I still kind of think the next loss, if it happens, if they lose to the Jets, I don't think they do it. But if they lose to either the Raiders or the Giants, I do believe there's going to be a contingent of people, and it may even be Mike Tomlin, that go, we're going to go back to Russell Wilson. And we're going to go to Russ because we named him the starter, then he got hurt. And whenever there was cries and calls for Justin Fields to be named the permanent guy, not that long ago, 2-3 weeks ago, we're talking about Justin Fields being the starter for the rest of the season with the Pittsburgh Steelers. But Mike Tomlin basically dumped cold water all over him ever saying that Justin Fields was going to be the guy for the rest of the season. It seems like they are navigating this path by delaying Russ as long as possible. Now he's back practicing, so still probably a week away. Maybe he's active this week where he could actually wear his pads on the sidelines and people aren't going to make fun of him. And I know that's done because of the emergency quarterback and the rule and everything. I kind of, though, feel that Mike Tomlin has a little inclination and a little desire to eventually see Russell Wilson, and the fact that he has not showed, I don't think love is the right word, but more warmth and receptive to Justin Fields being the guy for the rest of the year. It's almost like they're dealing with Russ with kind of when you go bowling for the first time and you put the bumpers up, right? That's what the Steelers are doing. They are still allowing an opportunity for this to be a favorable path for Russell Wilson. They're just waiting to see when the time is that it's appropriate. I don't think they're married to Justin Fields, but it seems like Mike Tomlin had a little love at first sight with Russell Wilson, right? Russ was looking for a rebound, found Mike Tomlin. Mike's like, oh, I kind of like this relationship. This is cool. But then there were some complications, and now there's someone else in the picture, and you're basically seeing 2 people at one time, and it's, okay, how am I going to juggle here? on this tightrope and make sure that Justin gets a fair opportunity. But then also, Russ is now giving me a call, and it's like, oh, I'm getting closer and closer and ready to go. That, to me, is the difficult managing part of this. And I could easily say they don't know anything to Russell Wilson. But now when you lose 2 games, and I don't even think they're Justin Fields' fault, they're going to be portrayed by some that, okay, let's go to Russ. Maybe we go back to Russell Wilson. And I think Mike Tomlin is not committed one way or the other, and he's dating both of these people at the same time, both of these quarterbacks. And eventually, Stu, as you know, when you're dating 2 people, because Stu is very, very popular before he's taken and has a girlfriend, when you're dating 2 people, eventually you got to trim down the list to 1 person. And I don't know how Mike Tomlin isn't at some point, even though I don't think he should, I don't think he can help himself, and I inevitably do think he will go back to Russell Wilson at some point.
Yeah, I thought when you said that, I thought you were talking about O'Connell versus Minshew in terms of dating 2 people down to 1. When you have 2 quarterbacks, you don't have 1, and certainly in the Raiders' case, you don't.
If dating like Justin Fields and Russell Wilson, it's like dating like a 5 out of 10. Dating Gardner Minshew,
it's like a 2,
and Aiden O'Connell, you're like walking by and everyone's like, ooh, that guy could do a whole lot better. Yikes. That's like a 1.5 maybe out of 10.
Yeah, but
O'Connell and Minshew.
I totally agree with you, though. I just think Fields hasn't been amazing by any stretch. But
but he hasn't been bad.
He has been bad. So the fact that there hasn't really been any inclination to keep him as the permanent starter, or at least until there would be an injury, it does make me feel like just the first sight of like, okay, a loss or a little trouble, it's going to be Russ.
You know what I'm thinking about doing maybe? I just thought about this. It has nothing really to do with what we're talking about, but it brings up the Raiders. And when you bring up the Raiders, it just sparked this thought. I don't care what the spread is and how much of a lock I think it is the rest of the season. The way that the Raiders, they were up 10-0, right? Up against the Broncos.
Trying to make it 17-0 before the pick 6. Yes.
And they were getting 3.5 points. So they were a 3.5-point dog. How they didn't cover that spread with how, I know the Broncos now, people are like, oh, they're 3-2, oh, they're hot. The Broncos still stink and the Raiders stink. After the Raiders couldn't cover that 3.5-point spread as a dog, I will not bet on the Raiders for the rest of the season.
Good idea.
So the idea off of that and how we can make this into show content, it's not who I won't bet on for the rest of the season. Because with my picks, the way that they've been up and down, you may not want to bet on Zach Gelb's picks. You may want to fade me so far in the NFL. But I think we should maybe do this on a Wednesday, or maybe we could do it on a Thursday, something like that, where we get either a waist spin or we get a paper shredder. And I pick a few teams each and every week that I either crumple up their logo and put it in the waist spin, or I think a paper shredder would be fun. I just hope I don't cut off my fingers. But you have a team logo, and if I'm out on that team winning a Super Bowl, you just shred them one by one. So, like, for example, my Patriots would be the first team in the paper shredder. They don't have a chance for a Super Bowl, but then it's like, I think it gets interesting as the season goes on, where if a team's like a fringe team and they have a bad loss, do you put them in the paper shredder?
Yeah, you're out. You're
or
out.
Not?
When you're out too, right? Like, there's no coming back.
No, there's no going back. Like, I could say on the radio, hey, if that team ends up going on a probable run and getting the playoffs, that they could win a playoff game, but they would be out of the Zach Gelb Show circle of trust to just win the Super Bowl. Because it's very open right now. I know people will say, oh, the Vikings, they have a great record. Right? You could say that. But I wouldn't say right now the Vikings, I have a lot of confidence that they're still a great team. I think bare minimum, they are, they'll make the playoffs. They're a wild card team, but I don't even know if they're going to win their own division. I think the only great team in the NFL right now are the Kansas City Chiefs. And even they have some flaws, and they have some problems. So we'll fine-tune that, because I just thought about it. And I had an idea, and sometimes when you have an idea, it's just better to share it, even if it may not be an idea that we run with, because then you sometimes forget about your ideas. I have a lot of ideas that I forget about. Like, oh, I'll store that. I'll remember that. And then I don't write it down in my drafts or something, and then boom, I forget about it. And I'm spending all week trying to figure out what the idea was. Okay, this is Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. We will talk some college football next as we get ready for a huge weekend. Josh Perry, former Buckeye, national champion, does a great job now. NBC Sports covering the Big Ten will join us next. Update time first. Here is the Act Man, Rich Ackerman.
Infinity Sports Network. Sports Flash.
Well, we are already into a third of the NFL season with Week 6 upon us. It begins tonight with the 49ers and Seahawks in Seattle. Both are coming off losses and on a short week. Niners head coach Kyle Shanahan said they intend to keep it simple.
You don't try to put in as much new stuff or things that take a while to get down. You know, sometimes we overwhelm guys on Wednesday, but you can repeat it on a Thursday and Friday and come back to it, and eventually it sticks. So you try not to do that with new stuff, but volume-wise is much different.
Jets interim coach Jeff Ulbrich stripped offensive coordinator Nathaniel Hackett of the play-calling duties. Passing game coordinator Todd Downing takes over that responsibility, while Ulbrich still handles the defense. 2 American League Division Series continue today. The Tigers try to extend their incredible run into the ALCS. They host the Guardians with a 2-1 series lead. Tanner Bybee starts for Cleveland against Reese Olson. The Yankees are up 2-1 on the Royals with their ace Garrett Cole on the mound. Michael Wacha gets the call for the Royals, who try to stave off elimination on their home field. And the WNBA Finals open tonight with the Liberty hosting the Lynx. And Saturday's game between Carolina and the Tampa Bay Lightning has been postponed because of Hurricane Milton. I'm Rich Eckerman.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. 1 minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Alrighty, we continue. This is Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. A massive weekend upcoming in college football after what was a tremendous weekend a weekend to go. And now joining us, one of the best analysts in the country. He does a great job at NBC, is a former Ohio State Buckeye linebacker, won a national championship. And that, of course, is our guy, Josh Perry, kind enough to join us once again. Josh, appreciate the time as always. How you been?
I've been good. I appreciate you guys having me back on.
I appreciate you coming on. So a wild weekend coming up in college football. We know Oregon, Ohio State should be a doozy. Let me start you off, though, with your alma mater, with Jeremiah Smith. We all know, right, Ohio State, no shortage of wide receivers in their history, especially as of late. How about what the youngster's been able to do through the first few games of the season?
I mean, he's been amazing. It's been phenomenal to watch just from the outside looking in. I actually had an opportunity yesterday to catch up with him. I was in the building, and just like, first impression, seeing him in person, that's what I look like as a freshman linebacker physically is what he looks like right now. I mean, he's rocked up, super lean. He's got big hands. He's lengthy. So just from a physical standpoint, he won the lottery. But then you get to know him a little bit. You get to spend some time with him. There's a seriousness about his approach. He's very quiet, a little bit soft-spoken, extremely thoughtful. When you ask a question, he pauses, thinks about the answer before he gives you one. And you can tell, like, that's the reason why he's had success so early on. Now, I pair that with the fact that he walked into a room that had a veteran like a Emeka Egbuka in there. And those guys spent a lot of time together in the offseason. It makes a ton of sense. And it shows up on Saturdays, whether, he's making the contested catch, whether it's holding somebody off and then just palming the ball with one hand. Like, he's had so many of those crazy catches, but he puts in the work and he's got the serious approach to match.
Marvin Harrison Jr. the last few years was the standard, and that says a lot with how many great wide receivers, like I said, Ohio State has had. What do you think is the ceiling for this youngster?
I don't think we've seen anything like it, if I'm being completely honest. Like, Marv was amazing, and, you had Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave, and some of the guys that came through before that. I played with Mike Thomas, who was a really good one. Devin Smith was great for us as well. You go back to David Boston, Joey Galloway. There's nothing like it. And I'm telling you this right now. He's got every physical attribute, but just watching him go to work is totally different. So I asked some of the people around the building, what do you think the ceiling is? They said there is no ceiling. The ceiling is not there. And it's crazy to hear, but when you put your eyes to it, you can definitely feel it.
It's going to be fun to compare the next few years, Jeremiah Smith with his start, and then Ryan Williams at Alabama as well, because what they've been able to do through the first few weeks of the season, I throw my hands up and say, I don't know what else they could do after this.
Yeah, I wish I was blessed like those two guys. I mean, Ryan Williams out here, 17 years old, man. Like, I mean, dude, go to prom. Like, go do what high schoolers are doing. He's out here dunking on people like it's his job. And again, like, I'm not as familiar with that program, but you hear the same things about him and the quality of the work that he puts in. These two guys are on a different path, right? And they can write their own check. They'll be paid as much as anybody's ever been paid playing the game. But it's super fun to see it from its inception and then what they can do into the future.
Josh Perry here with us. I'll go back to Ohio State and Oregon in just a second, but moving forward with Alabama, 2 weeks ago, they beat Georgia. Then they followed it up, and I still can't believe that they lost to Vanderbilt. I still think they'll make the college football playoff in a 12-team format. I know their schedule, has like three tough games left on it, but how do you kind of evaluate Alabama now?
I mean, it's one of the wild things that happens in college football. I'll start by saying this, there's been a lot to make about Kalen DeBoer, and there, when a guy who didn't grow up coaching ball in the South starts coaching ball in the South, everybody's like, oh, he doesn't fit. He doesn't know what it's about. And you lose to Vanderbilt, obviously unacceptable. And you start to hear some of the narratives. I'll put it like this. The guy's won everywhere he's been. Right, took Washington to a national title game. I don't think any of us had that on our bingo card for what that program was going to do. He's a really good ball coach. I think he's going to have these guys on the right track. One of the things that happens in the sport of college football, you go get you a big win, right? Like you beat Georgia, who is the current dynasty, if there is one. Kirby was the heir apparent to Nick Saban as the best coach in the sport. You get back on campus, and all the young ladies are telling you how good you are, and you got your mom and your dad, your aunt and your uncle telling you that you're going to the league and it's your year to win national title. You start flipping on all the morning shows, and they're talking about Jalen Milroe and this offense, and he's going to win a Heisman. You let your guard down. You take a deep breath. I've been there before as a player. We watched Notre Dame do essentially the same thing earlier this season, go on the road, beat Texas A&M, who people think, and it looks like right now, could contend for the college football playoff, and lose at home to NIU. We're dealing with young people who ride the wave of emotions, and I think that's part of it. I think there's an X's and O's part where defensively they have to be much better. We saw what their defense looked like in the second half against Georgia. That's not championship standard. And I think Vanderbilt and their offensive staff created a really good game plan to take advantage of an Alabama defense that doesn't do a ton in terms of variation. Diego Pavia, really good player. I think people are starting to figure that out. So you put all of those things together, combined with a sleepy stadium. It's small. It's under renovation. Like, all the factors can create this chaos. I think Alabama's going to be fine. The sky did not fall. Everybody woke up in the morning. Things were fine. But it definitely is a rough start to the tenure for Kalen DeBoer in that sense.
Joshua Perry here with us. Getting back to your alma mater, going up against Oregon. We know what is expected of Ohio State this year. We also know what's expected of Oregon. Oregon, even though they're undefeated, got off to a little bit of a slow start, but now they're finding their groove. Put the football cap on here. What do you think this game comes down to on Saturday?
So I'll say this. I think it's a unique game for every storyline that's involved. And from the time I spent yesterday, there's a tightness, I think, a tension that existed in the Ohio State program, and especially last year. Michigan lost, the Common Core transfers out. You have the bowl game loss to Missouri. The offseason was very tense. These guys were focused, but they weren't tense. Like, I think they understand why the veteran players came back. I think they love what the roster looks like. Ryan Day is very happy with the addition of Chip Kelly. So that's that for the preparation. I know Oregon feels a very similar way in terms of the way that they've prepared for this game. These are two head coaches who I think that their paths have mirrored each other. I think they're the same guy in a lot of ways. Dan Lanning, young hotshot coach. Everybody's saying he's a top 5 coach in the sport. Then you start to dig into the metrics. Where are the big wins? That's the question we're asking. Ryan Day, at that juncture in his career, was a top 5 coach. People don't say that anymore. The question they ask about him are, where are the wins? So I think there is a narrative that's at stake here for either coaches. It's higher for Ohio State and Ryan Day. This game is decided in the trenches, and I know that's like a cliche for Big Ten football. But we saw Oregon's offensive line early in the year. Certainly didn't look like a group that could be a championship group. They've gotten a lot better. Ohio State's defensive line has looked better, but this is a game where you prove it. JT Tuimoloau, Jack Sawyer, they say you're first-round picks. This is a game where you make the money. Flip it around. Ohio State, I said all offseason, their offensive line is going to be the indicator if they can win a championship. Will Howard's been throwing out of clean pockets. Both of the running backs they've been getting gobs of yards on the ground, unabated to the second level a lot of times. And for Oregon, again, defensive line, that's the game where you got to show up. It's going to be one of those with Mateo, and they got Birch out there who's an alien. That's where they make the money. So all the skill, I think those are the shiny toys, and everybody knows about them. Oregon, their wide receiver room with Dylan Gabriel, similar thing. Ohio State, Will Howard, the wide receivers. The trenches dictate this game to me.
Let's get to Red River. Deion Burks, I just saw, not expected to play this weekend for Oklahoma. We know Oklahoma's made the quarterback switch. Texas, right, is the team, and this is their year after making the college football playoff last year. When you look at Red River, can you make the argument outside of that, hey, it's just a rivalry, for Oklahoma to pull off the upset?
Yeah, and I think it was announced that Quinn Ewers is for sure to go. So that'll be a lot of fun to see him return there. Here, this is it. It's hard for me to create the path outside of it's a rivalry. Yeah. Oklahoma they're a flawed football team. I think defensively they have enough to be able to make plays. One of the big issues I find with them, though, is the defense is out in the field too much because their offense struggles really to sustain drives, and those guys can get worn down pretty easily. All the firepower for Texas makes that so much more difficult. I do think for Texas, though, as good as they are, I still have the question about how good is their defense really? Like, I know it's a good unit, but the offenses that they faced so far haven't really been a test, right? Like, Colorado State was not one. We know Michigan's got their issues. Like, you start looking down the schedule, you say, okay, Texas, good defense, but how good? So I don't know if Oklahoma is able to create some momentum swinging plays, they can get some trick plays in there. Maybe you get them up against the ropes that way. But I mean, they're in two completely different spaces as programs right now.
Let me hit you up on two more games quickly with Josh Perry. USC, such an up and down season for them. We know what transpired last week, and now they have Penn State. And Penn State, I think they've looked good this year. I want to see if they could look great. Can USC pull off this upset at home up against the Nittany Lions?
Yes, they can. There's a stat out there about Big Ten teams having to go over 2 time zones. I think 1-7 with Indiana being the only win. Shout out to my guy Sig. But I think Penn State's the better football team here. So for USC, their defense certainly has to play better, make the tackles they need to make. I think their offensive line has been exposed a couple times. They were against Michigan. Minnesota was able to take advantage as well. And so if they can shore up those 2 spots, which is difficult, certainly, I think there's a path. I agree with you fully on Penn State, though. I think that Andy Kotelnicki has elevated them from a scheme standpoint, and that's allowed guys to play better. I think Tyler Warren's a legit NFL draft pick. Drew Aller, certainly talented. Still a question about the wide receivers. I like the running back room. I don't know if I love the offensive line there. And defensively, they're a really good unit, but they play aggressive, and they like to be in single coverage. And if you can get a quarterback who can spin the rock out to some good weapons, you might be able to take advantage of the back end there.
And I'll also be fascinated to see how Ole Miss and LSU play on out, because it's kind of like the last life for both of those teams. The loser, you're not feeling good about them potentially making the college football playoff.
Yeah, and LSU, man, I got a question. Just like I don't think they're that good of a football team. I think they're fine, but it's hard for me to say that I believe that they're going to make a run into the postseason. Blake Baker was a splash hire, $2.5 million or whatever the number was, and the defense doesn't look like it's taken the strides that they need them to. Lane Kiffin, for all of I feel like I can't trust him. The one thing that he'll be able to do against a defense that has been exposed before is expose them. And they've got, great quarterback Jackson Dart. Wide receivers have played really well. And I will give them credit on defense. They've been able to bow up this year better than in years past. So I would give the edge to Ole Miss here. I do think it's like kind of 2 coaches where you ask the question of, they're really good coaches and they deserve credit. Neither one of them has been able to capture that greatness. And so you're kind of battling with that thing too.
Last thing I'll ask you, Joshua Perry does a great job. The former Ohio State defensive player, won a national championship. Great job now on NBC with all their coverage. I look at the Heisman. No disrespect to, Jalen Milroe, whose name was hot for a week, Cam Ward, who's going to be a finalist in New York City, assuming Miami gets the ACC championship game. You take a look also at Quinn Ewers when he's coming back from the injury. But to me right now, this is a 2-man race between Travis Hunter and Ashton Genty. And who would have thought we'd be saying that? Colorado and Boise State, the 2 teams with the Heisman Trophy front runners right now.
And I'm with you on that 100% of the way. And I like the fact that it's a couple of teams that aren't the Blue Bloods. And I also like the fact that it's not just quarterbacks that we're talking about right now. I would give the edge personally to Travis Hunter. I know that sounds crazy based off of what Genty's done. This has nothing to do with the level of competition he's faced. He tore up Oregon. He's on a historic pace. I love watching him play. I stay up to see his games there. Travis Hunter's doing something that we have not seen. That man is averaging like 120 snaps a game. He's playing at an elite level on both sides of the football. He makes game-changing plays on offense, and we saw he had that interception against UCF. Boom, hit the Heisman pose. Like, he understands the moment that he's in, and I think, to me, he's the front runner for the award.
Hey, Genty's hit the Heisman pose a few times this year as well.
Yeah, he has. That man is I'm going to do my Stephen A. He's a bad man.
Yeah, I got a chance to talk to him 2 weeks ago, and I wrote down 3 names of running backs that he reminds me of. And I said, Alvin Kamara, Marshawn Lynch, and Derrick Henry. And I go, who do you model your game after? And he goes, Alvin Kamara, and then also Marshawn Lynch. So when I watch him, he just puts on a highlight, about 6 highlights each and every week.
The explosive runs are crazy. Like, dude's got to be tired. His legs got to be hurting because he's just running away from everybody.
Well, he runs away so quickly early in the game, they don't even need him for the second half with those scores.
It's wild.
Hey, keep kicking ass with the Big Ten's coverage on NBC. We appreciate the time, Josh.
I appreciate you.
There
Thank
he
you.
is, Joshua Perry, superstar, talking college football right here on the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. And this portion of the program was brought to you by Ethos Life. The easy way to get life insurance in 10 minutes, up to $2 million in coverage with no medical exam, and just a few health questions. Get your free quote at checkethos.com. Not available in all states. I can't wait to see on Monday, or even for me, Sunday morning, when I'm doing Sunday morning football right here on the Infinity Sports Network. I'm into the same stations from 10 a.m. to noon Eastern time. Each and every Sunday, how we're talking about Ohio State and Oregon. Because for Ohio State, yes, we all acknowledge how good Oregon is. But Ohio State, it's championship or bust, truly. And they haven't had a big test yet. And for Ohio State, we all know at the end of the year, they definitely got to beat Michigan, but it's more than just beating Michigan. But Ryan Day, a lot of people, even though he hasn't lost many games, have given up on him. For Oregon, last 2 years, Dan Lanning has done a good job. He's not had a lot of big wins, but he's brought a lot of energy back with the Oregon Ducks. And he's been a good replacement for Mario Cristobal, who's now with Miami. But with Oregon, I think it can't escape some people's minds how the first 2 games of the season did go. And maybe we've held that against them, but now it's a time to win those people back. So for Ryan Day, there's a lot to lose this weekend. And for Oregon, I think there's a lot of heads that you could turn where a lot of people were in on them before the start of the season. First 2 weeks, they're like, it doesn't look like a championship team. You get that championship feeling back with the Ducks. We'll take a break. We'll come on back. One team, and it's not the Jets, that must trade for Davante Adams. I'll tell you next.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 3 minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
To infinity and beyond.
He's live. He's nationwide. This is the Zach Gelb Show. Here's your host, Zach Gelb.
Alrighty, hour number 3 of our radio program. It is the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. We have a late addition to the extravaganza. Coming up 20 minutes from now from Barstool Sports, KFC is going to join us. Kevin Clancy. He's a huge, and I mean a huge Mets fan and a huge Jets fan. So we'll get his thought on the JETS Jets, finding a way to fire Robert Saleh before the Buffalo Bills game. And we will also chat up with Kevin Clancy about the Mets. And the Mets, I was at the game last night at Citi Field, was running around like a maniac. What a night that was, as the Mets are the first team to advance to the NLCS. We're waiting to see if it will be the Dodgers or the Padres. And that Game 5 is going to be coming your way tomorrow evening. We have the ALCS potentially being determined tonight and today, with the Tigers up 2-1 against the Guardians. If the Tigers don't win this game and it goes back to Cleveland, you do got Tarek Skubal on the mound, and you know on this show how much we love Scooby-Dooby-Doo. And then the Yankees go up against the Royals. Garrett Cole on the mound. I do think the Yankees win today, and they punch their ticket to the ALCS. And the Yankees don't get to the World Series. Like, still. Where are you at with this team? Because going into the season, you being a Yankee fan, I don't think the Yankee fan was confident nor had these great expectations with this team. But then they overachieved. They came back down to earth. But then, right, they ended up playing better, winning the division, even if it hasn't always been a clean product this year. And you entered the postseason where it was like, okay, the Astros aren't great this year, but they're still the Astros. And then the Astros go down in 2 games to the Tigers with what Scooby did in game 1 and then the miraculous toughness that the Tigers did display in game 2. So now that the Astros are out and you were looking at the remaining field going into the divisional series, it was, okay, Yankees go up against the Royals and the Tigers are going up against the Guardians. It's one of those things where if you're a Yankee fan, you started out like, Like, just answer this question and then I'll go through it and let you respond to. You start out the season with the Yankees like, not really. Like, you knew they're good. You got Soto, you got Judge, but you weren't in love with this team, right?
Yes, wild card team, but I didn't have much higher expectations than that.
And then you got sucked in quickly with this team.
Yes.
Where it was, okay, there's a chance this year. And sometimes in sports, when you've been a team that has been trying to win, and it's weird to say the Yankees have been trying to win, but they haven't won a World Series since 2009. And when you've had so many matchups where you've come up short, when you basically give up and kind of throw in the flag and the towel and say, okay, it's not going to happen this year, those are sometimes the years that it ends up happening. And for the Yankee fan, they went into this season, don't really have much expectation. Like, they'll be good, they won't be great, nothing's going to change. And then that bar changed quickly, and you would probably agree, Stu, fell off a little bit, but then when the postseason started, it's like, guys, look at the postseason field. The Astros are as vulnerable as ever, then they go down, and now with the other 3 teams remaining, you don't get to the World. Like, just getting to the World Series, I don't think is good enough for the Yankees. Because I'm not saying it's a bye to the World Series, because that would be disrespectful. It would be. But this is truly World Series or bust for the Yankees, for the Dodgers, and also for the Philadelphia Phillies, who now we know have already bust because they lost to the Mets. Like, don't get it twisted. I am a Met fan. I did the dance in 2015. Oh, we lost. We weren't expected to be there, so we'll be back. We'll be fine. Don't get me wrong. Even though this is gravy right now as a Met fan, if the Mets don't win the World Series this year, I'm not going to look back at this season as a failure, but I am going to be disappointed because with what they did up against the Phillies, it's still 8 tough wins to get to, and I know what could happen with this fan base, but I've allowed myself to envision a World Series championship. I don't want people to say, hey, like Yankee fans at the Met game last night, hey, Zach, good to meet you, blah, 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 blah. Oh, you know, I'm a Yankee fan, but I think your Mets are winning all this year. I don't want you to tell me that. I don't want to hear Team of Destiny. But when you are there, you have to capitalize. But there's a difference being there and having to capitalize and then teams that are expected to capitalize. And going into this postseason, I thought there was only 3 legitimate World Series or bust teams: Yankees, Dodgers, Phillies. Phillies already donezo. Dodgers could be donezo tomorrow evening. And the Yankees are up 2-1 right now against the Royals in this series and not trying to have this thing go back to the big ballpark in the Bronx for a Game 5 where then they could be potentially donezo. So, Stu, you kind of gave me a look. Respond to everything. I know I threw like 10,000 questions to you there on how you viewed this team going into the playoffs, and would it be a failure if they get to the World Series and lose to the World Series?
Going into the season, the 2 teams in numerically I thought were clearly better were the Orioles and the Astros. And then even going into the playoffs, okay, the Yankees had a better record regular season than both of those teams. But I still had in the back of my head, like, okay, the Astros and Orioles are 2 teams that might be tough to get over, especially the Astros considering they have our number for the past decade.
Yeah. I didn't think the Astros are any good, but there was always that fear factor. Like, yes. I kind of thought the Astros would get to the World Series this year just because you just always, it's like death taxes and the Astros being in the ALCS, right?
Exactly. So the fact that both of those teams were knocked out in the wild card round, you're right. It's World Series or bust. This team has to get there. And if they don't get there, Cole's getting older. He's not going to be himself for much longer. Soto obviously might not even be on the team next year. Like, there's a lot on the line for them to get the job done this year.
If the Yankees are the Yankees, though, even if they don't win it this year, is
They
Soto
got
really
to bring
leaving?
back Soto.
Is he really leaving? Why would you leave a lineup that you're in the lineup with Aaron Judge? The only team I could see Juan Soto leaving for, my team.
Yeah.
Because my team could throw him a ridiculous.
Yeah, throw him $700 million.
Ridiculous paycheck. How much?
$700 million, $600 million.
That's not my money, so why should I care? But $700 million.
I'm just saying he's going to go for a lot of money, and
Yeah, I thought 5, right?
I think 5 at least. Yeah.
Oh wow, I would love to be able to write a check for that, and actually have
Well,
those.
I
funds to
think
be able
your
to
owner
write that
can.
check.
That's so you're in a good
he
position
can.
there.
You know the pointing man statue that he once bought? I forget. It was like $135 million. At one point, it was more than we paid any player before Francisco Lindor, and that has obviously been worth all the money. So we got a fun baseball postseason. I know nationally, like, I love baseball, but I know nationally it doesn't usually resonate. This time of the year it does. Mets take down the Phillies. They're through. Dodgers, Padres. I hope that game tomorrow, Stu, is a classic. Because the game so far, Dodgers and Padres, like, they haven't been all that fun. I know that the in game 3, right, the Dodgers, or the Padres ended up racing out to that big lead. The Dodgers then had the Teoscar Hernandez grand salami, but there's no runs scored after that. I would like to see a back and forth game in game 5, and Yu Darvish will be on the bump for the Padres, and we'll see what the Dodgers end up doing. But, like, as a Met fan, I can't believe I'm saying I'd rather say Dodgers. I look as the Dodgers very similarly to the Phillies, except the Phillies had better starting pitching. So that's how I view that. And in the AL, Yankees, and I do think with Scooby there for game 5, I do think the Tigers are going to find a way. What a crazy AL, like the Tigers and the Mets are already through, but the Tigers and the Mets being on both sides of this, you asked me that at the All-Star break, I would have said we need to go get you drug tested. That's what I would have said. All righty, real quickly, let me play Antonio Pierce. This is the coach of the Raiders, who would give no answers on Davante Adams after liking a post basically suggesting that Davante Adams was done with the Raiders. Now, after no trade has come to fruition and we get closer and closer to the trade deadline, here is Antonio Pierce on the latest with Davante Adams.
He's still a Raider. He's never not been a Raider.
Yeah, actually playing a game for the Raiders.
He's still a Raider. When he's healthy and he can play, we'll play him. He's just not healthy right now. And he's getting closer, though. That's the good part. He's working every day to get that hamstrings right. He's in the right headspace mentally. Like I said, we talked recently and had a good conversation. And he's ready to play football.
Stu, so I'm not an idiot. Sometimes I can act like an idiot, but I know I'm not an idiot, if that makes sense. Doesn't this seem... I'm not saying the entire injury is fugazi, but remember when Jalen Ramsey was with the Jaguars and he had a back injury? Like, you could have an injury and still play. This Davante Adams hamstring injury, I'm not saying it's like illegitimate, but I don't think it's this severe where he's had to miss this much time.
It's lingering longer than it should, and it'll probably linger as long as it has to until he gets traded, when he gets traded.
And I think Antonio Pierce kind of reversing the course of action after kind of showing his hand for everyone to see and then folding, but still finding a way to still have chips on the table, but fewer chips on the table. And now he has a new hand. Now he's trying to like make you think he has a great hand, and he's waiting for one sucker to say, okay, I actually think you have a good hand, so let me fold. I'll give you the second round pick to go get Davante Adams. That's what I think just happened there in that audio clip. I don't think this means, oh, Stu, you should be holding your breath. Like, here comes Davante Adams. When he's healthy, he's coming on back. I'm not saying that. That's Antonio Pierce saying, oh, I didn't think people are going to be monitoring my likes on Instagram. And now since my comments or my intentions are kind of out there, I now need to reverse the course of action to make it appear that Davante Adams is going to still be back with this team, so somebody else calls up and actually gets what we want for Davante Adams.
I think that's fair. If anyone thinks Davante's playing another game for the Raiders, I'd like to know what they're having, because I just don't see it.
I think it's more believable that this team...
Yeah, I'm sure the chat will like that one.
That the Raiders... Wait, what was it, the chat?
No, I'm saying I like to have what they're having.
Oh.
People
gotcha.
would think Davante's still going to suit
Well,
up.
the chat actually thinks like you are this party animal.
Yes, they do.
So I think what the chat does isn't what you do. But anyway, I think it's more believable that the Raiders win the Super Bowl this year is what I was about to say, than Davante Adams ever plays a snap again for the Raiders. He doesn't want to be there anymore. He was giving the courtesy to Antonio Pierce to at least see through this season. Then Antonio Pierce ripped him basically by liking that post on Instagram. So then basically Davante Adams was like, bleep you, I'm done. That's my version of how this all went down. So now it's like, like I heard Schefter say, they're not getting a second-round pick for him. Why not? Like the Baltimore Ravens, you have Lamar Jackson, a 2-time MVP. You have Derrick Henry, who is still dominant but is on the back end of his career. You have a team that's been close. And last year the Chiefs were vulnerable and you couldn't beat them. It's the same damn situation again. The Chiefs are vulnerable once again and they're still undefeated at 5-0. Get your 2-time MVP, a number 1 wide receiver, and pair up a superstar offense with Lamar Jackson, with Derrick Henry, and go get Davante Adams. Who gives a rat's ass about the second-round pick? Right, you got people, you can't trade a second-round pick for Davante Adams. Why not? Why not? You think if you're at a Super Bowl parade in Baltimore, anyone's going to say, man, that championship is great, but I really wish we only gave a third-round pick up for Davante Adams instead of a second-round pick. No one cares about the draft picks if you win. And you will have a great chance to win if you go get Davante Adams. It increases your chances. Don't make this a situation where, I don't know, you get in a playoff game and Zay Flowers fumbles the football and you're like, oh, geez, I wish we had Davante Adams. And it helps out the rest of your offense. It helps out a young receiving core or a receiving core that is okay when you go bring in Davante Adams, because then people pay more attention to Davante than all your other wide receivers. Ravens, not the Jets. Go get the deal done for Davante Adams. And if I'm Davante Adams, I'd much rather play right now with the Baltimore Ravens than the New York Jets. Thank you very much. That was a good PSA today. Well, throwback there. Zach Gelb Show, PSA on a Thursday. How about that? All right, it is the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. You know, I didn't think I was going to be in a bad mood today. I'm not in a bad mood. I'm feeling like $1 million because the Mets are now in the NLCS. For some reason, I knew I was going to pop off on this show about something today. I just don't get why Davante Adams isn't traded yet. And it all comes down to the fact that these teams protect these draft picks. I'm not saying draft picks are irrelevant and draft picks are unimportant. But go ask Les Snead if he misses any of the draft picks that he didn't have when he won a Super Bowl. You don't. And you don't want to have any regrets. And you don't want to have a situation where it's like, oh, we could have done this deal. Oh, we could have done this. So go get the deal done. Go get the deal done for Davante Adams. Like, I think the Ravens, like, I hear the Steelers, I hear the Jets, like all these teams people have thrown out. I'm like, you want to go to Pittsburgh? You want to go to the Jets? You know, Ravens? Hello. And you'd finally get Lamar with a number 1 wide receiver. All right, we'll take a timeout. Kevin Clancy, KFC from Barstool, is going to join us on the other side. We will talk about the Mets and we will talk about the Jets with both the Mets and the Jets, obviously, in the news. Coming on back.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. 3 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
You're listening to the Zach Gelb Show.
All right, it is the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. When I think of fans of the Mets and the Jets, I think of two people. Joe Beningo and KFC from Barstool, Kevin Clancy. Now, here's the thing. If we ever tried to get Joe to connect to a Zoom, we'd probably run out of time. So that's why we ended up bringing on Kevin Clancy today. KFC, how you been?
I'm good, man. I'll take that. That is a huge honor as a guy growing up in New York my age. Even being in the same sentence as Joe B is a big honor. So even if it's because he can't work a Zoom call, I will take it.
Yeah, we'd probably have a viral moment if we tried to get Joe on via Zoom. He'd be like complaining about his cat and why Sauce Gardner is overrated and all that stuff. But let's be positive out of the gate. I'm 30 years old. You know, obviously I remember parts of 2001, but you don't live and die with the team then, in the early 2000s. For me, 2006, 2015 have been the two best Mets teams of my lifetime. But what this team is doing, even if they don't get to the World Series, I already think this team is more fun than the 2015 team. How about your Mets kind of history and how far you're willing to go with this team?
Yeah, this is the most fun. You also have to understand, hey, everyone's a different type of fan. I don't usually find baseball fun. I am the type of guy who's watching like a game, May 15th, and I'm like screaming about the bullpen, so none of it's ever fun to me. That was actually the problem with 2022. I always thought that 2022 was amazing, but because the Braves never lost a single game, we couldn't enjoy it. There was no fun. This has been nothing but fun. From the gimmicks and the memes and the things that usually come across as corny and stupid because the Mets are losing and still doing these things are now fun because they made a run. So the Grimace and OMG and the song and Actua and all these things that are like Pitbull, you have all of this fun surrounding it now. As far as fun, this has got to be we'll see where this ends, but this is right up there. 2006 was gonna be probably the funnest until we know how that ended. Mm-hmm. And then 07 could have been fun. We didn't even get a chance. But I also really have a soft spot in my heart for 99 and 2000 was really the grand single was incredible. That greatest infield ever was really great. 10 runs in the 8th against Atlanta. But even those, ball 4, Kenny Rogers ruined that moment. And then the Subway Series put a knife through my heart. So even when it was fun, it's never, the best. It's not the greatest.
And the difference with this team, because it was such unexpected success, and I've said the season's over like 10,000 times already. In the last 2 weeks, I've developed a confidence that whenever they allow a run or whenever they're down in a game, they're going to find a way to get the job done.
Yeah, man, that's one of the things when I was growing up.
And that doesn't happen for us Mets fans. Never.
No. When I was growing up, I was born in 85. And so obviously in 86 and those years, there was that magic. And they were the amazing Mets. And they would come back. And I always heard about that. But then my entire life, I never witnessed it. We don't come back. Our bullpen stinks. We underperform, So I never experienced that. And now this is such a great feeling as any fan. The feeling of no lead is too much for us. We're never out of any game. As long as, we've got the 7th, 8th, and 9th, we still got a shot. That is the best thing you can ask for, especially for Mets fans who I think we are doomed to, just deal with a bullpen for the rest of our lives. I don't think we'll ever have just a true shutdown bullpen. So knowing that these guys can go up there in the late innings and be like, yeah, I'll hit a home run now. No big deal. We'll get a rally going. Don't worry. I mean, the fact that we're even debating where Lindor, which of Lindor's home runs is more historic, and is Pete's home run better than Lindor's? We have 3 of the greatest home runs in baseball history in a matter of 10 days.
It's remarkable. And you mentioned the bullpen, like Braden Looper, Armando Benitez. We could go on and on and on. But let's not do that today. Let's keep it positive. I know that David Peterson, right, they could have used him in the 9th, but I still thought you had to put Diaz out there because if you don't put Diaz in that spot, I think you really lose him. And early on, I was like, oh, they should have kept Peterson in. I was an idiot for even thinking that. But ultimately, he came through, and it's better. At least you're not the Guardians closer. At least you're not Williams with the Brewers. That it didn't cost us in that spot.
Well, here's the thing. You're right. If you can't go to your closer 4-1 in the 9th, you don't have a closer. That's no longer a closer in my mind. And I was thinking about leaving Peterson in, and I honestly think he probably could have got the job done. My fear was that if he couldn't, now you bring Diaz in a, not a clean inning. And we know he's not good at that either. Now, it turned out that he was, ready to walk the ballpark anyway. And I don't think you can get away with that many times. So, that's got to stop. With Diaz, man, it's the first pitch. If the first pitch is a strike, you're good. If once he starts sailing those fastballs, you're like, oh, we're in for it. But I did love hearing, I saw a couple of beat reporters say that Lindor, they had their meeting on the mound and they told him, he said something like, let's go. Yeah. And Lindor said, no, not let's go. Do it. And just throw your fastball and gas them. Those little tidbits I love because that's, being a reliever is, in my mind, 90% mental. So the fact that there's Lindor once again, the captain of this team, making it happen.
So I had an interesting perspective last night because I had a credential for the game, but I was also roaming around the stands for the first 8 innings and being crazy fan Zach. And then I was like, I'll go be professional Zach for the last inning and a half. And I go into the interview room afterwards and I was talking to Lindor, and he's just as cool could be. Like, if I hit a home run in that spot, I'd be like how Pete was in game 3 up against Milwaukee. He's just jogging around the bases, and he even said it, the job's not done yet. He wants to win a World Series. It's almost like he's not letting himself exhale, and that's what I love in a superstar.
I also, don't get me wrong, I love the Winker pimp job. I love the Pete bat flip. I love it all. But when it's your shortstop, it's your captain, it's your franchise player, the fact that he can even remain calm. I mean, he hit that ball like it was, April 15th. Just jogged the bases, flashed that $1 million smile with the OMG sign, and, probably in his head it's because he knew that we still got to get through Edwin Diaz, and we don't know what we're going to get. But, there's certain guys where the pimp job is, it fits you, and then this is even cooler when you're just like, I am so cool, calm, and collected. He knew we needed to finish that game, and even if we did, the job is really not finished in the long run. So, he's unbelievable, man. I've been a Lindor guy since prior to the Mets. He was just a player that jumped out at me. I remember when we were kind of going through that golden era of shortstops where there was Correa and Seager and everybody. And I remember seeing a poll on Twitter, and Lindor got none of the vote. And I remember being like, everybody's sleeping on Lindor. Like, this guy is the one. And I just took a liking to him and always followed him. And the fact that he ended up on my team, and then the fact that there were guys doubting him, fans, we call him the Lindorks, who just, complain about everything he does. And I thought he's going to be like another Beltran, like a star that just never got his love and his proper due. And I think he finally did enough to get that. And if there's anybody else left out there who still doubts him, or if he gets off to a little bit of a slow start next year, and you're still giving him a hard time, just get out of it. Just stop. Just get out of our fan base. We don't want you anymore.
So in my lifetime, 30 years old once again, Kevin Clancy from Barstool, KFC from Barstool here with us. My 2 favorite Mets, obviously Mike Piazza and then David Wright. Where do we put Lindor in that right now? Is he 3? Does he move past Wright? Does he get up to 1 with the World Series? How far are we willing to go with Lindor?
He brings you a World Series. He's got to go to number 1 in my eyes. I mean, he's already had these classic moments that, it's funny to be in the first round in this fake wild card round and then the DS because, you still have such a long way to go, but a home run to get in and a home run to save the season and a grand slam to kill your division rival is enough to I hate to say it because he's awesome, but in the end, David Wright got snake bitten by injuries and never really had a chance to have any of those truly classic moments. I think I would put him past Wright at this point. Piazza, I think, he just needs more time to amass the numbers. I think when it's all said and done, he's going to be the number 1 Met of all time. And at this point, as far as favorites go, it's for me, it's Bartolo Colon and then Lindor. I've always got a soft spot for Big Sexy.
Big Sexy, when you hit a home run, I'm okay with that being number 1 on the list. Let me ask you also, what makes this so sweet too is 2007, 2008, we know what happened, right? I went to a sleepaway camp in the Poconos. Whenever the camp would reopen back up each and every August, the Phillies fans would be lining up to make fun of me because they knew I was the big Met fan. That's what also, I'm just happy we advanced, but for it to be up against the Phillies, a little redemption finally from 07 and 08.
Yeah, I actually lived outside of Philly for a couple years. First, second, third grade. So, I have some friends out there, and I remember, then we moved back to New York and my mother stayed in contact with one of the families that we knew out there. And so they would talk on the phone. And in 2007, they were having a catch up phone call. And at the end of the phone call, this other mom in Philadelphia just said, we're going to catch you, and hung up the phone. And they did. And it was like my mom has been mad about it, ever since. And so I was thinking about that family and any any Phillies fans who were, trashing on us in 2007 and really all through this year as well. I mean, even up until last night, Nick Castellanos being like, we're still the better team. Like, by what metric, bro? We beat you in the playoffs. We beat you in September. We were at a better record than you in September, August, July, and June. We're the better team for 75% of the year. We are the better team. So, there is a little extra satisfaction doing it to the Phillies for sure.
And then the Barstool perspective of this too, because I've known Frank the Tank since 2016 or 2017 when I was doing local AM radio on 920 AM The Jersey, which I don't even think exists anymore. And Frank being a Jersey guy, he explodes on the scene. We used to bring him on all the time. So I've always been a fan of his. I've always been a fan of yours. But in 2022, it got real ugly with you and Clem going up against Frank the Tank. And now it's like odd where Tank is smiling. He's happy. You guys are embracing. And it's brought it together that, hey, we all love this team at the end of the day. We all want them to win. And the streams have been a whole lot of fun, obviously.
Yeah, the streams have been awesome, man. I was always the negative Mets fan, and still really am. More, I should say, pessimistic, because I still always support the team, but I'm always the guy who's like, the sky is falling, because for 35 years for me, the sky has been falling. I'm 39 years old. As soon as I can remember watching the team, the sky always kept falling. So in 22, Frank was so negative, and he actually admitted it for the first time just yesterday. He was like, in 22, I think I was taking out a lot of frustration on the team because of how good the Braves were. And I was like, yes, I was screaming that at you for 6 straight months. Like, some of those fans, Frank fans, didn't enjoy, the best record we've ever had because they were too busy being mad that the Braves wouldn't lose. So Frank the Tank is that guy who's just always so negative and had no perspective. What we have back is Frank Fleming. Frank Fleming is now, it's a little bit like Walter White Heisenberg. Frank Fleming is back. He's gone on 105 straight walks. He's lost like 100 pounds. I think his mental health is better.
He's looking sexy, Frank, these days.
What's that?
He's looking sexy, Frank, these days.
Yeah, he might be big sexy. Yeah. So, and we are now aligned on a lot of the feelings we have about the Mets. So there's a lot of likable players on the team. As far as the fans at Barstool, we are a bunch of weirdos. We're the aliens. Yes. We've got all shapes and sizes. We've got big guys, small guys, short guys, tall guys, young guys, old guys, skinny guys, fat guys. Real whack pack. And I think these streams you can tell the passion, because we do a lot of streams at Barstool, but a lot of them on the internet these days are all about your bets and your fantasy. And these streams have nothing to do with that. These streams are just lifelong Mets fans who are just, realizing that maybe this is it, or, who knows. So it's true passion. It's real excitement. And I think a lot of fans are enjoying watching us. I don't want to say as much as the players, but it's definitely an added bonus that you can tune in and see some Mets fans losing their mind.
Last thing I'll ask you, so we get to the Jets. I hate to end it on a miserable note for you, but when it comes to the Jets right now, Salah gone, right? Ulbrich in. We'll see if they get Davante Adams. Rodgers basically saying he had no clue about the whole Salah thing. Baloney. Yeah, right. At the end of the year, Kevin Clancy's talking about the Jets. How?
Well, it's funny because it's usually like, the Mets heartbreak, let's move on to the Jets around this time of year. And instead it's the opposite. The Mets are the only thing keeping Jets fans out of the asylum right now. I think the Salah firing was like inevitable. I don't think he was the guy. I think he was not going to get extended. So part of me is like, let's be proactive. The other side of it is I kind of think he got a raw deal. I think he did a great job without having a quarterback last year and really held the team together. I think Aaron Rodgers absolutely had a hand in it. It's crazy to say otherwise. I like, again, it's proactive, which as a fan you like, but an interim coach coming in is, not really what you're looking for in a year that you had Super Bowl hopes. I hope that baseball season keeps running a few more weeks so I don't even have to worry about this team yet. But, Aaron Rodgers wasn't looking great either. So it'd be one thing if he was, lights out and he was making personnel decisions. But, we need you to step up, pal, because you look like an old man out there too. So, I mean, at this rate, if things hold, it'll probably be like a, 500 team when we had Super Bowl aspirations. I mean, that Patriots game was so great, but you're starting to realize that the Patriots are like the actual worst team in football, which is a nice change of pace, but also means that it was a little bit smoke and mirrors with that game on Thursday night. So, unless things really turn around and somehow your interim coach works out, maybe you do get Adams, but unless A-Rod really steps it back up, I think it's at least another year before we maybe put it all back together.
Now, Belichick would never coach the Jets, but could you imagine, for your purposes, with Portnoy, if Belichick ends up coaching the Jets next year?
I've seen enough crazy stuff, especially at Barstool, where we have our storylines intertwined with the real world. Anything's possible, man. I think Bill is enjoying his time with his young girlfriend, doing whatever, going on field trips with her. But
Taylor Swift concerts, right?
Yep. Wouldn't that be funny, though? Wouldn't that be something if there was a little bit of, Belichick wanting it to stick it to Kraft and the Patriots? And, I don't think it would ever happen, but maybe undo the karma of the resignation on the napkin. But yeah, I think that's a pipe dream. And I don't think you want to coach that old anyway, but it is getting a little frustrating to be told, we've got the guy. I was told we've got the guy, 5 times in the last 5 times has not even been close to the guy. So I don't know what you do. Really, as always, we throw it to the Mets. It goes to ownership, man. It's, you think you might have a good GM here. Douglas at least did everything he could. But, it goes all the way to the top. And you have to change everything in an organization before you really turn it around the way Cohen has. And I think hopefully someday somebody does that with the Jets. Maybe it'll be Gary Vee. Who knows? I don't know.
How about that? That would be something. KFC Barstool, Kevin Clancy. Kevin, appreciate it. Thanks so much.
Thank you, man. Have a good one.
You got it. There he is. Kevin Clancy from Barstool Sports joining us on the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. We will take a time out. We'll come on back with a brief news brief, but update time first. Here is the Ackman, Rich Ackerman.
Infinity Sports Network Sports Flash.
On NFC West, battle opens week 6 of the regular season. The Seahawks host the 49ers. Both are coming off losses a week ago. Seattle scored only 1 offensive touchdown, falling to the Giants. Their running backs managed only 30 yards, more than half of Geno Smith's total. The quarterback said establishing the run tonight is a priority.
We definitely want to run the ball. We definitely want to be physical up front. We want to set the tone that way. And we need those guys. We got great running backs. We got great linemen, and we got to continue to rely on those guys.
Seattle will be without corner Tariq Woolen, while Artie Burns has been signed to the 53-man roster. Jets interim head coach Jeff Ulbrich stripped Nathaniel Hackett of the play-calling responsibilities. Passing game coordinator Todd Dowling will now handle that chore. And it is going to be Quinn Ewers starting for Texas this week in the Red River rivalry against Oklahoma. The Tigers look to complete the upset of the Guardians tonight. They hold a 2-1 series lead entering Game 4 at Comerica Park. Reese Olson was announced as the starter for Detroit. He'll go up against Tanner Bybee, while the Royals will try to stave off elimination at home, down 2-1 to the Yankees, who will send their ace, Garrett Cole, to the mound against Michael Wacha. I'm Rich Ackerman.
This is the Infinity Sports Network. Follow us on Instagram. Our handle is Infinity Sports Network. That's Infinity Sports Network to follow us on Instagram.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 4 minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Hey, this is Howie. And this is Nick from the Backstreet Boys. And you're listening to the Zach Gelb Show. And guess what? Zach is back. All right.
He's live. He's nationwide. This is the Zach Gelb Show.
The Dependable Player of the Week is sponsored by Depend and the Prostate Cancer Foundation, reminding you that health is a long game and screening for prostate cancer is easier than ever. Learn more at Depend.com. This week's player is 49ers running back Jordan Mason. In Christian McCaffrey's absent, Mason leads the league in carries with 105, is second in rushing yards with 536 and his 3 rushing touchdowns. The 49ers as a team rank 5th in the league in rushing yards. Let's get to a news brief.
Time for your daily news brief. We get you caught up on the rumors, reports, and reconnaissance from the day in sports.
The interim coach of the JATS Jets, Jeff Ulbrich, on his reaction, or telling us Aaron Rodgers' reaction to Nathaniel Hackett being demoted.
It was obviously not necessarily a shock, but like we all are familiar with the relationship he has with Nathaniel, and they're very, very good friends that go back a long way. So he understood the decision and he was supportive of the decision, and I'm fortunate for that. So I talked to him. I talked to a lot of different offensive players and defensive players for that matter before making this decision.
And I do think if it was any other person in the NFL quarterbacking the Jets right now, Nathaniel Hackett wouldn't have just been demoted. He would have been fired. He wouldn't even be allowed to still be on this offensive staff. Let's go to Bill Belichick. Alrighty. I'll give my opinion right now on the coach's podcast on Robert Saleh getting fired.
Yeah, it is a little bit puzzling. It is what it is, and everybody has to move forward. It's the owner's prerogative to make that decision, and clearly that's what he decided to do. But there have been a lot of things that have been kind of confusing, and it hasn't been a great situation at the Jets this year. You can kind of feel there's been kind of a chill.
It hasn't been a great situation, so that's why even I'm not walking in there to eventually be the head coach of the New York Jets. Let's go to Jalen Hurts, how he used the bye week to spend time with Nick Sirianni? Huh?
Like any other bye week, obviously some time away from the building a little bit, but also really diving into some things, talking to my coaches, and really having great moments with Nick. This is probably, I say, one of the most efficient bye weeks I've been a part of this year, with my career, just been able to, like I said, share those moments and talk through some things and build.
What do you guys talk about? What made the moments great?
I don't want to get too into it, but some great moments.
So, Stu, what do you think's happening here? Were they sharing some wine, maybe like a steak during the bye week? Were they together in person? Or were they just kind of on Zoom watching film, airing it out?
I'm guessing the latter. I think these were like phone calls and touching base type of things.
It's good they're at least talking.
That's good. Definitely.
So
Progress.
they're in couples therapy, right? Now let's see if they emerge from couples therapy actually happy. If they don't, then we go back to what we've seen with the Eagles for the last year and a half. Okay, let's go to Deshaun Watson on fans and media members calling for him to be benched as quarterback.
First off, I don't hear it. I don't see it.
Oh, so, shut up.
I'm not on Twitter. I'm not on any social media or things like that. So anytime that stuff comes up, the only time I first hear it is either you guys are bringing it up or, somebody else outside, and I just don't know who it's coming from.
He's such a loser. Oh, I don't hear that stuff. I don't pay attention to it. Come on. You can't say that when your camp always goes after people for being critical of Deshaun Watson. You know what? It's not even worth my energy anymore with Deshaun Watson. We shouldn't talk about a crappy quarterback as much as we do, because that's what he's become, a bum on the football field. Let's go to this one I will enjoy. And I know this guy. He's I don't want to say he's a friend, but he's someone that I know through living and working in Philadelphia. And his agent, Josh Weinfeld, is one of my close fraternity brothers. And he kind of got me up to date with Hunter Brody all these years ago. And Hunter has had a nice career, Broads Media. Here is Hunter Brody. He's a Phillies fan and works in the Philadelphia media scene, losing his mind on his YouTube show after my Mets take down Hunter Brody's Phillies in 4 games.
No more Phillies baseball. It's probably the best for my mental health. I don't know how much longer I could even put up with it. There was a moment in time where the game was so brutal, even though the Phillies were winning 1-0, but it was so draining that I was wondering if they did manage to escape this one without their 12 ERA bullpen getting shelled. Oh, that is a joke! That is ridiculous!
The trigger word there was bullpen. The moment you said bullpen, he just erupted like he was Vesuvius. That's amazing. That is really good. Alrighty. I will say, my Aunt Wendy, who lives in Philadelphia, she's a thick Philadelphia accent. So the Jose Reyes chant when I was a kid, Jose, she'd be like, Jose, 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 Jose. And she would torment me that for years. When I was walking to the stadium last night, may or may not have sent her a little voice memo with the whole family. Jose, 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 Jose. So that was my revenge on the Philly fan. Quickly here, Sean Payton has an interesting movie character comparison for Bo Nix.
There's still a little bit of Ferris Bueller in this player that we got to get rid of. All right, talking about Bo, and I love him to death. And so sometimes it's my love language.
What do you mean by Ferris Bueller?
Yeah, Ferris was kind of quirky, doing his own thing once in a while. I mean, I don't know. Do you watch the movie? Have you ever seen it? He's still got a little Ferris Bueller in him. I mean, he's got some. We
Mischievous.
Not that, maybe a little bit kind of subtly.
Bo. I don't know. It doesn't flow as well as Bueller. I don't know. If you're comparing Bo Nix to Ferris Bueller, I just don't see it. I don't see it whatsoever. That's a bizarre one. That is really bizarre. It does not register with me. And I try to see the best in everybody, but I don't be like, oh, yeah, I see what you're saying, Sean. Alrighty, that will do it for the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network on a Thursday. Big thanks to Samter. Big thanks to Alex's arm. And also, a big thanks to Stupak Marley for helping out with this extravaganza today. Ack as well, each and every one of you. We'll be back tomorrow on a big football Friday. Also like to thank Josh Perry, KFC from Barstool, and the big fella, Mo Vaughn. JR coming up next. Go Mets in the NLCS. We'll talk tomorrow, everybody. We out. Bye-bye. Peace.